1. Welcome.
Okay.
Bren's a genius at the countdowns. I give him the 3 and the 2. He puts up the 1.
And I put the 1. I pause. 1. Plat Chat VALORANT, episode 34, everybody. Welcome. I see you all huddling in. The masses coming in to our YouTube channel.
Yep. Sweaty people in the live chat right now.
I like your necklace. Just noticed that, actually. Is that what's going on there, Avast?
That's a dog, which I'm assuming there's going to be someone here to fix my pipes.
So you are immediately, yep. So
I haven't even had a chance to do the intro. Astra came out, everybody. Okay, be right back.
Yep, see you.
Just an empty chair.
Avast's house, obviously, because of the Texas winter storm, has got a bunch of problems, and he's currently in the process of solving it. And
he said he's living in a sewage pipe.
They basically, they said we can either come today or in 2 weeks. So he chose today, and it just so happens that.
I mean,
fair.
Pretty important, to have running water, as we discovered. But let's get right into it. Agent 15, Astra, released. It was announced a little bit earlier. We didn't really know how she was going to work, but we've had a bit of time to play her. We'll play with her and against her. I haven't actually played it yet. She seems, dare I say, bonkers.
Listen, let me tell you, playing against her is so frustrating, at least right now. It may change in the future where, once it gets to the point where it's established how to play against her, so the layman like me can do so, then maybe it'll seem less over the top. But at the moment, she does seem, I'm going to say broken, but very, very powerful. And I think specifically because when you're playing against her and you just see a star next to you, because there are 5 of them, and you don't know what's going to happen with it. And then also if they move it and then the smoke comes up with the fake, it's overwhelming stimuli for a small-brained individual such as myself to try and figure out what exactly is happening. And at least at the moment, it's like, oh God, I don't want to stand too close because, like for instance, like I was playing on split against an Astra, and I always play in ropes typically.
Right.
And if there's a star right at the door, like, oh Christ, if I stand here and they gravity well me and I just get sucked into the door, I'm just dead from anyone peeking in mid. So playing against it, at least at the moment, seems overwhelming. But I'm willing to change that opinion as time goes on, just once people kind of establish the counterplay.
It's pretty weird. I mean, I also felt a somewhat similar thing, except I was just avoiding the stars. When the stars went down on like my area of the map, and I'm thinking about this on defense mostly because when I was attacking, I didn't really notice the Astra that much. Like when we were on attack and we're pushing into an Astra, I felt like the people we were playing against who had just started picking up Astra at the diamond level had no idea how to anchor a site with her, because that almost seems like her strongest component is like trying to push through a star in a choke point. But I can't say I've really experienced that yet, because all the Astras we were playing against are poo, which we could go on a tangent about how hard it is to play her. That's a completely different thing. But when I was on defense and you see the stars going down on your site and you're anchoring a bomb site, it feels very telegraphed beforehand, for starters. If it's like, depending on the timing of the round, right? It's like if the smokes go down or whatever, it gives you some idea of how they're going to hit and where to reposition pretty early on. And I think that in itself is the fact that you push defenders out of certain positions by putting a star there is value in itself sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like low-key value, stuff that you don't realize. You might be playing with an Astra and think, well, I haven't really benefited from, I enjoy the fact that I'm playing with someone who's smoking all the time, but I haven't really interacted with, I haven't like killed anyone in a gravity well, I haven't killed anyone who's concussed, but just putting down the stars pushed people out of regular positions. I mean, and it pushed me out of regular positions that I wanted to hold on the site.
I don't know if this will happen in ranked games as of yet, but it is very easy to just have some sort of basic combo with the gravity well and any sort of offensive utility.
Yeah.
Because when we were playing the other night, when we were playing with Elk and Elk was playing it, he would set up star in mid on split, and I would just hold in mailroom with a nade and he would wait for the rush. I would call, grav, I would throw the nade, and without fail, every single time, at least 70 damage, 100 damage, if not more.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah,
like,
that was happening in B main as well when we were playing on split.
We weren't even coordinated with it. Like, we were messing it up sometimes. Like, it was only just like one nade tagging somebody, one mini nade. But at the pro level, when pro players actually get good with this, that is, I think it's going to feel oppressive in certain areas.
Yeah,
like, you are not going to be able to play in a certain area because of the threat of any sort of utility combo. Of just getting caught out.
But
by
that's also that's on defense, right, as well. And that to me is where she gets when she's playing attack, she seems to get most value out of her smokes. But when she's playing defense, the potential for the pull is ridiculous. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It slows you like a slow orb, although it's only in one choke point, so you have to get it in the right place. But still, it's a long duration slow orb that also gives vulnerable at the end and can be comboed with abilities really easily. Oh, hello, Sewage Man is back.
I'm back. Hey, they're running a camera through my LAN right now, so we're...
Oh, your house is having a colonoscopy.
Yeah, it is. They're seeing what's up there. What polyps can we find in my house, as they say. But what topic are we on? Oh, we're still on Astra.
Astra. Yeah, we were talking
about Astra. She's cool.
What we were talking about her kit. I guess we were sort of talking about at the moment how we feel she's strong on attack. And then we were getting into the gravity, being able to use the gravity for utility combos. Yeah, what are your thoughts right now? Catch us up on where your mind's at.
I'll tell you, first thought is that she's sick, obviously, but also I'm glad that they have a new controller to hopefully take away from Omen's dominance a bit, you know? Like, I know Brim's been more meta recently, like a little bit more meta, been getting some steam, but I'm glad that they're added some more controllers because I feel like I am tired of Omen. You know, I'm a little tired of Omen.
Yeah. Sure.
Of like only playing Omen. You know, it's not that Omen is disinteresting or anything. Like, Omen's cool. I just would prefer to have a wider variety of controller agents. And I think she offers a really unique way for controller to be played because now they're not as worried as much about, you know, the setting up those paranoia flashes with Omen with her kit. Now I feel like we're going to be looking a lot more at like, how do you set up like some fucking sick combo with like Killjoy and Astra, you know, where you suck them in and then pop a molly or something like that. Like, there's a lot of cool synergies, right?
Mate, I've seen people do that at clubs.
I'm sure you have. I'm sure you have as well. But I think there's some cool synergies that from a kit that allows for a very different style of controller to be played than what we've been seen be played, you know, than what we've been sort of identified with the Omen meta.
I think I want to hop on that point from Avast as well, because when I first saw this agent, I didn't know whether you'd be able to run her as a solo smoker. And I think that really defines a lot about how her kit gets used. Because if she's a bit like Viper and you have to play her with an Omen, then she is much more limited in that aspect that you can only run her in certain comps because you're giving up something else really important. But also, she has more flexibility to use her like stun and use her pull and stuff like that because she doesn't have to worry about the smokes herself. From what I've seen, and albeit not, I mean, we're not playing at the mega high level, and she hasn't been played in pro matches yet, so this could all be a little inaccurate. But she seems pretty viable to play as a solo smoker. Like, that was my feel of her. She was pretty decent at anchoring a site. She's pretty good at being able to just apply smokes, but she hangs a lot at the back of the pack. Is that what you guys felt as well, that she seemed viable that, but more passive than you can play when you're Omen and Brim?
Yeah, I personally, I felt from the jump like she could be a solo smoker, just given the fact that you have access to so many smokes. And then additionally, I mean, you could put down 4 smokes in a round and then additionally have 1 gravity or 1 concuss for a post plant. And then also throughout the round, you can adjust your star location for additional smokes just to get someone to cross a doorway. Or something like that. So
like the classic cyber cage on Haven Long, where you just put it down and you
and now it's literally free.
It is
literal free utility to cross sight lines in early round, which is sick
because you use the dissipate to kind of pop it for.
I mean,
a second.
That is actually where I think if she is too good, that is going to be what needs to be changed, because getting free map control off a 0 cost utility essentially is probably going to be where she would be too powerful if she's too powerful.
I think I don't know if she'll replace Omen at the moment because I put a lot of value in Paranoia as ability. And I think a lot of other players do as well in teams where they've learnt. You can't just wean them off of Omen. You know, they've gotten too used to comboing abilities, right?
You're right, but my counter thought to that is I see pro Omen mains constantly complaining about how expensive Paranoia is and how Omen has been nerfed.
Well, you can't buy anything now. When you buy Paranoia, like especially in eco rounds or bonus rounds, you can't buy shit with Paranoia.
Which leads me to believe that there are Omen mains out there who are interested already in having a new option because they felt like Omen's too Paranoia. I mean, you're right. Paranoia is too good, and you're right. There are way too many set plays with it.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of players in that role are looking to go elsewhere because they don't get to purchase guns.
Yeah.
They're just a paranoid bot.
So what? Yeah, my general takeaway though from Astra being introduced is what you were saying, Josh. Where you were saying like, do you think she can be played as a solo smoker, or is she going to fulfill the same kind of niche position that Viper does with her controller sort of play style? But I don't think she has as many weak points as Viper does, where Viper is quite situational in that you place your utility and it's kind of set in stone, and there's not really much way for kind of playing agile, reacting to the enemy based off where your utility goes. Your wall goes down, that's it. But with Astra, it's not the case. Like, she has the stars and she can choose to play them later in the round, but she also provides insane value with the rest of her utility, which is the stun and the gravity well, which, I mean, they're both ridiculous abilities. You can clear corners with them. You can just take space immediately using those stars.
Yeah.
So I think she'll be used. Some teams will use her in a supplementary role like that. We haven't even gotten to the topic of talking about her ultimate yet as well. Her ultimate.
I think her ult is amazing. I think her
cherry
ult is like
on the
so
fucking
cool.
top, because that ultimate is one of the best in the game.
It is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can partition any site into whatever take you want, and it is so hard if you want to use it on the post plans. Somebody wants to try and push through it. I mean, good fucking luck. Like, it is so hard to push through that ultimate when it's up. It is a ridiculous.
And they can't even spray you through it. They can't even spray you through it either. That's the other great thing.
Yeah.
Like, compared to like Viper Wall, which is like amazing. Like, you can partition the site, right? And you get a bunch of info. You can split them, but they can still spray you if it's like through a common choke. You know, like if it's like split like long or something like that, like on a site, like they can still spray you, right? But like with this, they can't even spray you when you're pushing because it blocks all the bullets.
Yeah. Plus, I really think that the best counter to this, because people hold it so heavily, is like a Phoenix or a Sky, because you can still flash through this wall and follow through it. I'd like to see them change it at least so that Breach can flash through it as well. So that it is a solid wall. It's literally a solid wall.
When you walk through, if you do have to push through it, there's like the particle effect while you're going through as well. It's just kind of...
Oh, the smoke! Even the smokes, even the nebulas from Astra are really disorientating.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm actually walking through a galaxy as I pass through a smoke. I pushed a smoke yesterday, and this also is because I have the sense of direction of Christopher Columbus. But I walked through the smoke, and I came out facing sideways, and I was like, "How did that happen? I didn't move my mouse, did I?" It's like, you know, like the VR trick where they have you walking like ever so slightly to the left and you feel like you're going in a straight line forever. That's what I felt like when I was inside one of those smokes. I was just on a merry-go-round. And obviously that's because I'm a boomer, but but the smokes are disorienting.
The interesting thing about Astra is that she's an agent that they've released. And like initially we were looking at a kit, and it was more of we weren't thinking, oh, she's overpowered. We were thinking, oh my God, she's complicated.
Yeah, and I still think she is as well.
She's still complicated. She's hard to grasp. So this isn't going to be one of those agents that's going to be ruining your rank games from just her sheer value.
She's going to be ruining your rank games if you've got a teammate using her, I think.
Yes. Well, yeah, possibly. But she, to get the maximum value out of her, she, like some agents, she requires a lot of team coordination, which you're not going to get as much in ranked. Where you're going to see her really shine is in 2 months' time in pro play. And you're going to see some absolutely crazy shit, especially from European teams. They are going to love this agent.
I think so.
It is right up their alley in terms of how they like to play.
It screams boaster.
Yeah,
this
it really
agent
does.
Just screams boaster. Like, the guy loves playing these kind of roles for his team.
Yeah.
I think Eccles as well would have been a great fit for this if he had been continuing on Liquid.
Angel seemed really excited about it.
Yeah. But the thing with Angel, though, is that this agent requires you to be at the back of the pack. It actually requires you to let the rest of your team go in first. So it like suits certain people more than it suits others. The people who want to go forwards and aggressive, like Kriya in NIP with his Zero Duelist comp, where he has to be one of the spears going forwards. Same with Angel, where he likes to be on the entry a lot of the time as well. You're not going to be able to play that if you play Astra, I don't think. Unless you're already putting your stars down in the pre-round and just going for a fast hit. But obviously there's weaknesses there because they know that your stars are in that area of the map. You're like telegraphing it if you do it that early on.
Yeah.
So ideally, you want to be timing your star placement as the rest of your team is hitting and being as precise as possible, which means that you have to be in a safe location. So I think it works for some people and not for others. And I think, I do agree that there's going to be a lot of potential with this agent, but I think her downsides are not getting thought about at the moment because people don't understand how to play against her.
She's quite clunky.
She is,
in her execution.
Yeah.
It's not quick. You can't. It's not like they've done the Omen change where he can just pop out of smoke. He doesn't have to go into his weird form where he's like looking at the map. She has to go into the Astra form, as far as I'm aware.
Yes,
to place these stars. So you run into the issue where I think some regions like Brazil and the NA to a lesser extent as well, where they like to play fast. Some teams at least. You're going to see probably they don't lean towards Astra because it's hard to be agile when you're playing that kind of agent. It's hard to be on the fly making those decisions, and I think it's interesting to see where she's going to be played in the future. At least I'm really excited, honestly. I
can't wait to see what people do with it.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I think you were leading to a point that I was going to try and make as well, which is that the obvious counterplay to me is if she is being played in pro games. When you watch those games, you will see where the players are AFK playing the top-down RTS game.
Yeah.
You will see where they are AFK, and then you counter it with aggression because for points throughout a map, they will be playing with a man down at times. I think that is the counterplay is, if they have it on attack, it's defensive aggression. It's learning where they're playing and catching them out. Because in reality, there's only so many spots you can kind of safely play if you're going to be AFK, especially if it's mid-round. And at some point, your Astra is not going to be in spawn in doing this all round. Eventually, you have to go somewhere and hit a site.
Yeah.
So it's about defensive aggression, catching the timings on when they're going to have to use their utility, which I think will also just come from when you watch a team with an Astra, you can just go back and watch the tape of what they're doing, and I think it might be kind of easy to read and hard counter at that point. Just through whatever, like Breach or there's a lot of Sky being played right now, I think, like just flashing in and playing off that and trying to catch them out. But
also, the clip that we just showed from Average Jonas, and I saw another clip from, I think it was Steel or something, where they were playing Astra, and in the astral form, you can see the spike getting fake diffused. I don't know whether they patched this. Clearly a bug. Shouldn't be in the game.
Yeah.
Pretty ridiculous thing to exist. There's no way that this should be a thing at all. It can't be allowed to continue in the game.
Yep.
I could see her maybe getting some changes, like regardless of this bug, is like maybe because I feel like controllers a lot of the times are like they're kind of like the tanks of Valorant, where like a lot of people don't want to play them. Everyone wants to play the cool Jett or the cool Phoenix, maybe some little Reyna when you're in the solo queue. And I feel like much like Brimstone and Omen, where they had to make them both a little more fluid, I feel like Astra is likely going to have that treatment just because like we talked about, she's going to be easy to read long term. And also to make her more appealing just to play like in ranked.
Yeah. It's interesting how much information you do not have when you're in astral form. It's not just that you can't hear things. You can't see the kill feed. You can't see movement around the minimap. You can't tell where your teammates are. Yeah. Like you are completely reliant on communication from your team in those scenarios, which again means that it's probably not going to be played that much in ranked, or it's going to be really frustrating to play both with and in some cases against. When it comes to ranked games, because people don't people don't have that level of synergy and coordination to be able to tell the Astra exactly what's happening so that they can lay down certain traps in areas and like it's going to be hard.
Yeah. Thematically, though, this is, I think, the coolest agent that they've released thus far. The concept of her is awesome, I think.
Her whole aesthetic is just fucking cool.
Yeah,
they just nailed it.
They did a really good job.
I said this to you, and I don't know if this is exactly true. Maybe I missed it. But being able to just see the Riot hype announcement video of the agent, I don't know if you guys saw some.
I didn't even watch the announcement.
Oh, you didn't watch the trailer?
The trailer video? No, I didn't watch the trailer. Is it good?
Well, you're missing out. Yeah, it was great. But I liked being able to see the actual intended rollout. I didn't watch the 1 minute somehow a Russian hacker got access to the agent and shows you what she does, and then you watch seeing all the abilities in the actual hype video, the whole rollout. It was really cool, and I was really excited about. Yeah, the whole the videos were really good. The aesthetic is awesome. Also, in game, the astral view is just—it's
gorgeous.
Everything looks so good.
Can we?
It looks so cool.
Kurt, can you find Boaster's video that he made on Astra? Because he had a thing where he zoomed all the way out in astral form.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, and you can see just this globe in the middle if you just go all the way out.
Really?
When he's in a custom game, he was in a custom game of Bind, and he just goes out and out and out and out, and then there's just this purple swirling globe. I think it's probably at the about 2 minute mark. I think you might have just yeah. It's right there. I think he zooms out here at some point. Could have got the timestamp completely incorrect, but let's see. Oh, I think it was before this. I think I've debated you. I think it was a minute or something. Yeah, there it is. A bit before this. Like at the there we go. A 40-second mark. Yeah, here we go.
Oh, here we go.
Look how gorgeous that is. Yeah. That is lovely, isn't it?
Oh.
And he's just going back and back and back just to try and see how far out you can go. There's this globe that gets created.
That is pretty cool.
That is.
What is that? What is that?
Just something that Boaster added to the video.
Okay.
It's on the game. They didn't put that one in the game.
The little Easter egg for the dev to get fired. No, but she's super cool, I think, and I'm very excited to see how she's going to be played in pro play overall. I think ton of potential with this agent, and it's the right way in my mind to develop an agent, which is. She gets better as the skill floor, increases, if that makes sense, or the skill level that you're playing at.
Yeah, right.
So she's not going to be pub stomping. She's only going to get better as you go up in ranks, which I think is a really cool way and the best way to design agents, generally speaking. The next thing is the rest of the patch notes, which what else did they really change in this? They made some rank quality of life changes. As far as I'm aware, in patch 2.04, they changed the way the system works because obviously a lot of people were complaining. They made changes to escalation, which we'll get into. It was some minor stuff where people were camping in the bind teleporter. I really like escalation, by the way. I know that you don't.
Sucks, mate. It sucks.
I really like it.
They've created a game mode. Yeah, do you want me to go on this rant tangent? They've created a game mode that is different to gun game. And 100% worse.
I quite like
every
it, though.
Possible way, escalation is worse to gun game. You are reliant on your team to be able to get a certain amount of kills before you can upgrade your gun. They have 10 people in a map instead of so you don't run into people regularly enough. The maps are large and they're designed for you to be poking and prodding in different areas, and you're just running around desperately trying to find somebody until you eventually find someone just camping in a corner and you die. It's there's too few players, and it's a team-based version, which makes the entire thing strictly worse than normal gun game. I don't like it. make some changes, in my opinion. But
not-
if other
it's not
people like
CS,
it, well, I
mate.
guess it's just not for
It's
me.
not CS.
Yeah, it's a different game, mate. It's a different game. Yeah, well, make it better then. Don't make it just different and worse. Make it better.
They just need to add more players. To the,
I quite
Yeah.
like it.
If
I'm
they
just
made it
saying.
more players, like
Same thing as-
deathmatch.
Yeah, it was the same,
I had fun
same
playing
thing
it.
with the DM at first. There was too few players. And they
Also,
added more slots.
fix the knife in this game, please. How does the knife even work in Valorant?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know.
It simply does not work.
What, is it a projectile?
I don't
Is
know.
it hit scan?
No, you have to
I
have
don't
it like
know.
on the center of their hitbox. when you swing.
But at what point in the animation do you have to have it at the center of their
I
hitbox?
think the entire time.
Yeah. What the hell? How is that?
It is very odd.
Like, something is dramatically wrong with how the knife works, and it doesn't matter for every other game mode because you don't get a bonus like you do in CS anyway. So why would you ever kill someone with the knife? It's just to troll people. So it's fine if it doesn't work properly in a normal game. But in escalation, the entire last round is just a joke where you're just wasting your time. You're just running around just waving a penknife
Here
willy
comes
nilly.
a
here he is.
smiley Connor.
I'm
What's
back.
got you so happy, huh?
Oh, nothing actually. I'm just smiling because we're putting on a show, so I have to look happy. I have to put on the mask again. I'm actually deeply saddened by what I've heard. So let's keep going.
Well, we were just getting into patch 2.04, and they made some changes to escalation. They made rank changes as well, which are pretty important, actually. So if you're a Radiant or a Malta now, you lose your ranked rating. You okay there? What's going on?
Wyatt just lost 5 inches.
You lose a bit of your ranked rating, and I think you have to re-earn Radiant, so nobody calibrates at Radiant. But this time you're not going to be placed at Platinum, and you're not going to have to fight your way up. I believe they now have a minimum ranked rating required to reach Radiant now as well. Yeah, for each region, which here it is. They specified it here, so it's 100 ranked rating for Latin America and Korea, and obviously goes up incrementally for the more players there are in a region, because obviously it gets more competitive at that point. So this kind of falls in line with what we knew about the player numbers as well.
Yeah, a bit.
They something about the leaderboards. Don't really know what this is. Ranks will no longer be displayed in the agent selector or in game as well. It's a little bit buggy actually, because you can still see the ranks from the previous season briefly when you're loading into the map.
Yes. Yeah, you can.
But I think this is a good change, because there's so many games that I had where it was pretty rare for me to be placed in a lobby where I was the lowest skill level player because I'm a sick cunt. But for some people, I know for a fact that they just get flamed if they were a gold player and they got put into a plat game or a diamond game.
Yeah.
So this is a really good change, personally. I like that
Yeah.
one. And they've made it so you can now queue with a wider group of players at the lowest level of gameplay, which is really cool.
I'd like it. I think I would like it if it showed you the average rank of the party. Like, if you are solo queue and you get into a game, I'd like to see the average rank of the game that you're in.
Yeah.
Because I think that changes something about how you play, and it's also just interesting information that and for people who stream, it's good for like the viewers as well to be able to see. I don't know. I think it's interesting to know when you get into a game whether you're playing against opponents who are rated higher than you.
You find out at the end.
You find out at the end of the game, but I feel like there's some motivating factor for people if they find out at the beginning as well.
Sure.
I mean, for some people, maybe it dissuades them as well, so it's good to hide that information. But for
Yeah.
me personally, I want to know, like, if I'm in a
Most
gold lobby or if I'm in an immortal lobby, you know?
Oh,
most people
you're in a gold lobby.
Shut up.
most people I found out the other day. I don't play Valorant often solo queuing or duo queuing, but we did the other night, Josh.
Oh, it was
And it was an
atrocious.
eye-opening experience to
Nah,
the fact that so many people lack the titanium mental necessary to play ranked, and instead they have paper mache for brains.
Yeah, we had
because
a Jett that was like three rank rating off ranking up to, I think,
Plat 3.
Plat
It was
2,
Plat 3. It was the
something
last
like
game
that.
of the act rank.
And they were losing their minds. They came in right at the beginning and they were like, "Oh, I'm gonna hate this game. I'm gonna hate this game." He bought an Ares, and we were like, "What? What are you talking?" We're playing on Split, by the way, where there's essentially nothing where you can do with an Ares or an Odin, and he's just losing his mind. He's like, "Oh, I died to their Odin again. There's nothing you can do against that gun." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then the Jets just sat there baiting, Bren's saying, "Hey, can you dash into this area so that we can actually engage? I'll
It's
be
like,
right behind you.
You dash in, I'll
be
double
right behind
satchel,
you."
and I'll trade you out. Like, you'll create some space. And they were like, well, no, because then I'll get shot in the back.
Yeah, he's like, "What if I die?" And we're like,
You're playing Jett!
You're playing Jett. You're playing entry. Why are you worried if you're going to die? That's the whole point of team play. Just didn't understand it at all.
Maybe we're the ones with the paper mache mental, complaining about it on the podcast.
Yeah,
we really
but,
should be talking about it.
But the reason that we're complaining about it now is because we bottled it up and we just carried on with the game while he was moaning his tits off.
But that is the reason for this change. So I saw one guy complain. He was like, yeah, but now I can't flame people. That's what they said in my chat. And I was like, yeah, the change was made because of people like you. So you can't just flame people.
I mean, we're going to yo-yo on this all the time, though, especially that skill rating adjustment where like they've adjusted it where you don't have to play as many games. I guarantee you 100% a month or two from now, we're going to see a lot of high elo pro players complaining that people have ranks they shouldn't be at, and they should make it you have to earn your way back up. I guarantee it. Because it happens in every rank system where everyone has goldfish brain on top of paper mache mental. So like what happens is like rank too easy to get your skill. Rank too easy to get your skill. Make it harder to queue up. Why so hard to get my rank? Make it easier to get rank. And it goes on and on and on. The cycle of misery continues in rank, and it never ends. And no one realizes that it's just a cycle. They can't break out of the machine. I feel like I'm stuck in like some sort of like glass box, like trap, like watching everything, because it happens in every game. Every game makes these same complaints, and it keeps happening. It's gonna happen in Valorant. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
By the way,
2 months.
You know how much everyone was complaining about the previous system, like when they started and they were plat players and they I can't get my main to immortal, I can't get the leaderboards at the end of the end of the act looked good, like they were all top pro players up at the top of the leaderboard. It worked its way out. I haven't heard complaints really recently about like plat players in Radiant games and shit. Like it just took a while to figure out, and then now they've made the changes to roll back a bunch of that stuff. And so it was just an experiment that people had to. They
just needed to give it time.
Yeah, they were too impatient to actually see how it played out.
It took 2 weeks for everyone to forget that even happened in the first place.
They need to be diamond hands with the rank, but they are all paper hands is the issue. That's the problem. And paper brain.
Yeah, paper brain as well.
Outside of this stuff, though, back to the patch notes themselves. I mean, we briefly touched on it, but they increased the range at the lower ranks of which you can play with people, which was the major complaint. Was like people saying, I can't play with my friends now with this change. Because initially it was a static boundary of which you could play with. But now you can see here, from iron to the top end of silver, you can play with each other.
Am I dumb? I don't understand this graphic.
So you can see the line and the dot. That signifies the bracket. So
what's the dot?
So the dot at the end is where it ends to. So if you are iron 1...
Why doesn't the line go the whole way?
If you're iron 1, the max... I don't know. It's because
it's a graphical choice.
Yeah, it's a graphical choice, Josh.
Josh.
What?
You see how there are rows of the rank symbols?
Yes. Each row can play with each other.
Yes.
Well, that's very simple. What they do in lines and dots for? Like,
don't worry about the
don't you have our brains evolved to seek patterns, Josh? Can you not see the pattern? Our brains seek patterns for survival. Like it's here. You can see it right in front of us.
I see a lot of columns as well, and I was trying to get data out of the columns.
You would not survive
the columns
in the wild.
that just have all the same rank down each column. What does that mean? And what could that mean?
I don't know.
Plat 2s get to play with Plat 2s? Good.
If society ends, I do not want to be in Josh's camp. I want a separate camp if society ends. I don't want to be in it. He's not going to make it.
All right, so what is new about this?
I mean, this is just because originally it was a static couple of ranks, I think, like 3 ranks. But basically, because I think the predominant player base plays at the levels of iron to silver, I think statistically, they haven't actually released rank percentiles yet, but I think you can extrapolate it from blitz.gg the data.
Right.
And I think if you are gold, I think you are average, if not above average at the game. I think when you play at that level.
I think it's bottom heavy, right? It's like the league system more than a just perfect bell curve. It's a little bottom heavy.
So they just made it so that those people can play with their friends at a variety of skill levels at the lowest level, which makes sense. This is what the number one complaint was, I think, from a lot of players. They made it so it's the exact same if you're playing from silver to gold and also from gold to platinum. But once you get into the higher ranks, it's a lot more limited, so the quality of the games is better, which I think they
Right.
I don't know if this is a new change. They may have done it in a previous patch, in an older patch.
I think this
but-
makes sense, though.
Yeah, it does. Makes a lot of sense.
It looks
I
like it
this a
makes
lot.
sense.
And then, obviously, when you get to the highest, which is Immortal and Radiant, you can only play with Immortal and Radiant players, which makes
Wait,
sense.
did they change
Well, only
at the
Radiant.
bottom though? Because now
Sure,
when
only
you're
Radiant.
immortal, you can play with diamonds.
That always was the case, though.
That always was the case.
Yeah, I've played.
Yeah,
with
it was.
Immortals
You could
for
play
a
with
while.
diamonds.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep, pretty cool change. I don't know if there's anything else worth talking about in these patch notes.
No, I mean they didn't really change anything in the actual game.
Oh, the
So-
voiceovers.
Oh well, yeah. I guess they did
yeah.
add the voiceovers.
I like them.
Spike dropped on A.
I like them.
Spike dropped on B.
I mean, dude, that's yeah. We
Cypher in Spawn.
maybe
I like it.
maybe you should be able to turn it off, but
You can, I think. I think you actually
oh,
can.
you can. Okay.
Yeah. I haven't
I
tried.
think
I haven't
this-
tried, but I
this
should.
This has probably saved the last piece of that mental that is about to crumble for just for a young silver player trying to rise the ranks.
Yeah.
And now they have irons in their game. It's unbelievable. How can I rank up when I'm getting queued with irons? But now with this,
The
I think
game
it-
comms for you.
yeah, I think this
Yeah.
is pretty
I think it's a
decent
good
actually.
change.
I think this is a good change for. Well, listen,
Yeah.
and then people are going to say, "Hey, I'm in Radiant, and my teammates also don't calm." So
True,
I think this
true.
is probably just a good change, and if you don't like it, you can turn it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's. I hope it doesn't encourage people to com less. That's the only thing. It's
People-
you know
I don't-
when it's like why didn't you tell me where the spike was, and it's like the game tells you where the spike was.
Are you
I
not
don't need
listening
to-
to the game? Do you not have it turned on?
Well, exactly. That's what people are gonna say. I think.
Well,
I
also,
don't-
people are not going to calm regardless. Like, it's just.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
people are just not
Yeah,
like calm
yeah.
It's not
regardless
gonna-
of that.
you could have it where if every time you communicated, you got paid $1, and they would just not do it. They were just like, I won't do it. Like, it's not going to happen. So it's 100%.
No, I don't need your money.
Yeah. Was there anything else substantial in the patches? I keep saying this. There wasn't.
no, I'm just
Not
going to say no
really.
again, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, some bug
Yeah,
fixes,
just-
but
just
nothing
bug fixes.
major.
Okay, cool.
Get it out.
Yeah.
Next thing.
Moving on. The next thing I wanted to talk about, we wanted to talk about, was the rumored Valorant mobile leak. It's not really a leak, but there was a rumor that was posted recently on Reddit about the Valorant mobile actually getting a release date. And it wasn't on Reddit. It was a PUBG mobile leaker.
Yeah.
Who tweeted it because
Yeah.
they basically tweeted a bunch of like PUBG mobile, Valorant, and also Apex Legends mobile releases and like release dates. But the trouble is with this rumor, I'll just say this now to provide some context. The image that was supplied was the same one that got leaked from beta. There's a second image in this tweet here.
Right. So there's no additional
okay.
visual information.
No, so there's no visual information, and it was from Weibo. It's from a blog post on Weibo, I think. But they said around June, maybe released this summer. around
Exactly.
June.
I mean, could you be more vague?
It is incredibly vague. It's the same image from beta, but the reason I wanted to talk about it was because it's opened up a lot of conversation to people that didn't see this back in beta, and a lot of PC elitists that can't see the bigger picture with a mobile game release. And they might not see the value in putting development time to a mobile game release. But yeah, I'll just say, I think it's a fantastic idea. You're opening up the IP to people who can't afford a PC. Some of the biggest markets in the world are on mobile games, mainly in India. I think India just banned PUBG because of some trade disagreements with China, I think, because PUBG is owned by Tencent. So they've been banning a bunch of games.
Yeah.
There's like a window of opportunity for mobile games to take over in a lot of these big regions that currently, Valorant is pretty popular in a lot of these regions, but they might not have an esports space, but you can always get like an entry-level thing going on there with the mobile game itself.
Yeah.
And, it ties in, maybe not directly into the PC game, but people who play the mobile game, they might be watching YouTube highlights of 10s because they really like the mobile game, and they're like, wait, he's playing it on PC? And then they'll play it on PC, and it helps the game overall.
A lot of Overwatch's success is driven by people playing on console,
Yep.
and I know that isn't a direct one-to-one comparison, but you could look at a bunch of other games where they are driven by mobile. COD Mobile was enormously
was
successful.
huge.
There's a bunch of
PUBG
different
Mobile?
mobile games. Yeah, PUBG Mobile. There's a shit ton of mobile games that I don't even know the names of that are popular in Southeast Asia that are just everywhere in that region of the world.
Garena?
Garena
that
Free Fire or something.
yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Is massive. I think also in Brazil.
I mean, it
is
just breaks
extremely
YouTube
popular.
gaming viewership numbers on a regular basis, I think.
Yeah, and it's a game that like most people have never heard of. It's a massive, massive audience. You know all of these like
Despicable Me, Minion Rush,
Roblox. Don't forget Roblox.
Of course. You know all of these studies that get done where it's like talking about the demographics of gamers in the mainstream media, but they include mobile games as being like hardcore gamers, and it ends up making the demographics look incomprehensible to anybody that's in a community like ours where it's mostly PC gaming because the player bases are so different. But that is like primary evidence right there that the mobile gaming demographic is enormous and extremely different and diverse enough to like completely change a game's future if you actually manage to tap into it. It just opens you up to so many different markets.
Yeah. And this is also coming off the back of something I was saying before this show, and we pulled up the Reddit post if you have it, Kurt, but with Valorant already being pretty popular in India, even though it's kind of been flying under the radar for that region in terms of like, I guess like the global eyes on it, because there isn't an actual official VCT or there wasn't an Ignition series.
Are there even any servers? I'm not even sure there are servers.
I think there's
I don't know.
Mumbai servers, I'm not sure.
Is there?
Yeah.
You frequently use them?
No, but I remember somebody telling me, I think, in my chat because I was inquiring about it.
Right, okay.
But
I could be wrong.
Yeah, the grand final of a recent tournament in India had 250K views, like 10K live viewers of just a tournament put on by a third party.
That's better than a lot of minor regions that do have VCT. I mean,
that's better than some of the NA region tournaments, like some of the smaller, like the tournaments happen here. That's like somewhat.
Yeah. So I mean, there's clearly an audience there, and if that can get further tapped into, I mean, the more players, the better, obviously.
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's only good things if a mobile release ends up coming out. I've seen a lot of negativity surrounding it, so I figured we'd use it as a topic just to, kind of set our opinions on it, and maybe we sway some people into thinking it's a
I mean, mobile
good idea.
releases are only bad if it implies that the developer is going to like shift its resources. But like, does anyone envision Riot suddenly, okay, guys, Valorant Mobile's out, PC's dead, moving to mobile? Like,
doesn't seem likely, especially given that they've already promised to release an agent every 2 months.
Yeah.
I mean, there's updates constantly. There's new agents all the time. So
as soon as they release a mobile-only agent, you can start molding.
Yeah, that's when the mold can happen.
Until then, keep the mold.
A mobile-only agent.
Wyatt's just checking his head to make sure he's not molding.
Yeah.
The next thing we wanted to talk about beyond this one, we actually talked about it in a Shazam interview because the news came out as we were recording it. But Masters 2 is going to be on LAN in Iceland at the tail end, I think, of the MSI League of Legends event. So they probably got like a bulk deal on the venue or something because it literally takes place the day after the League of Legends event in the same venue.
2-for-1 deal.
Yeah, maybe.
Nice.
I mean,
listen,
that is very feasible. Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
That's also a smart move. Yeah.
Very, very cool. We've already kind of said our piece on this, but I mean, we'll just reiterate it again, I think, at least. I fucking love that we're getting a LAN this early on in the scene. There's a lot of people who are upset with the number of slots allocated to specific regions, mainly Europe, Turkey, and CIS.
Yeah.
Which I think are valid criticisms, but at the same time, we are getting a LAN in an environment where this isn't really feasible for a lot of games at the moment.
Yeah. I think that just bears repeating so much, right? Deserve so much credit for being able to, I mean, assuming that it's going to be safely run, which I assume that it is going to be, then this is so much earlier than anyone was expecting a LAN to be existing in Valorant. People were saying maybe, like Riot themselves were saying, maybe Masters 3 will be on LAN. That's our goal. That's our aim. And then months earlier, they've now announced, I mean, so many months earlier, Masters 3 is planned for, what, September? Something like that?
It's a while away.
Yeah, it's fall.
And this is enormously earlier that we're actually getting a LAN event where the best teams in the world are going to be there from all different regions clashing in Reykjavik. That's phenomenal. That deserves so much credit. I mean, I've been hyping up the Overwatch League for their Hawaii plan where they are flying the NA teams out to Hawaii to be able to battle the Asian teams on ping as well. I think this is a similarly creative solution to a COVID world of taking people to Iceland, where you can get visas more easily than somewhere like Korea or China, but has like an isolated small population that has been able to deal with COVID in a more reasonable way, and you can lock it down and make sure that the area is safe. Like this is great logistical planning from Riot to make sure that something like this can occur, and it's gonna be fucking hype.
Yeah,
people are gonna lose their goddamn minds.
It is. The thing is, for me at least, I understand the criticism of the 10-team thing, but at least from a viewer perspective, the hype of this just outweighs that astronomically to the point where I care. I don't care though.
Yeah.
But also, it's still a COVID world too. Like, what do they expect? Like, the more teams they add, the more logistically hard it is to run this LAN.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So, like, sure, it's like, oh, I would love a 20-team round robin TI with $40 million prize pool, and it's like, okay, that's cool, but like, we're living like we can't do that. You know? Like, like 10 teams at this point is crazy.
It is incredible, and I imagine that. I mean, when you think about the number 10, this is going to sound so stupid. When you think about the number 10, it's a weird number, isn't it, right, guys? Sounds like an awful comedy bit. But what I mean is, when you build a bracket, normally you'd have it in numbers of 8, right? Or like at least you have it in powers of 2. So you have like 8 teams makes a really nice quarterfinals bracket. 16 teams makes a really nice... What's like it's smaller than a quarter?
4 groups.
Whatever.
I know what you mean.
But 10 is an awkward number to deal with when you're trying to create formats. But it's so much better than 8, which would be the de facto number. Like, I feel like people haven't really realized that 10 is more than expected. Like, if I heard that this idea was happening without any idea of the slot allocations per region, I would be thinking in my head, oh, fuck, they're probably only going to invite like 8 teams, like the 2 best from NA, 2 best from EU, and then maybe like 1 from a bunch of other regions. Instead of thinking about this like EU's gotten fucked, NA's gotten fucked, there's only 2 teams going. I think that you should feel excited that other regions get more opportunities. I don't think there was even a world, honestly, where 16 teams were going to get flown out. And anywhere from 10 to 16, just you've still got a mess of a bracket anyway. And it's just unnecessary additions. So I think this is a great plan. I love everything about this. I understand that people feel like it's a bit unfair or whatever, that the South American scene, Brazil and LATAM, have 3 slots, whereas NA and EU have 2. I do agree that LATAM getting a slot is a bit weird in this, rather than being lumped into Brazil. But the whole system is incredible, and we have no idea which regions are better right now. So why would you rather allocate EU and NA? Just purely based off viewership? Like, if that's the case,
there's no proper way to do it.
Fuck it all off and give it to Turkey. That doesn't make sense.
There's no proper way to do it that's going to make everybody happy. They found a solution. Clearly, I mean, I imagine if they thought they could make 16 teams work, they would do it.
Yeah.
But probably they thought 10 was the number that they would push to. It's going to make the format weird. I imagine they're going to have to do like 2 groups round robins.
Something
and like
that.
The top 4 teams in each group end up going through, which is kind of like how it's a very common format in Korea, actually, and a lot of esports there.
Yeah.
I would like to see
It'd be pretty cool,
robin, honestly. Because I just want to see as many, because we've been starved of these international matchups. I just want to see as many as possible.
If every game got broadcast.
I'm a glutton for these international games.
If every game got broadcast.
Sure, yes.
But
because
I'm sure they will.
But if you have a round robin format, that creates a huge amount of games, and if they didn't broadcast them all, it would be worse than having a less thorough format.
Yeah,
because you're just blue balling your viewers.
I think it's really cool that we're getting a LAN this early. A lot of our questions going to be answered much earlier than anticipated, and the hype is already building because they're also advertising Masters 1 currently in-game. They've begun this rollout of the advertisement plan.
I don't know about you. I've worked with. I've been part of gaming communities where we've been screaming for this from the developers before, like in TF2, just begging for a crumb of it, please. In Overwatch, in Overwatch as well, for so many of the beginning years, No adverts in the game launcher or in the game and stuff like that. They've gotten a lot better at that later on down the years. This is the first year of Valorant Esports. Boom, straight into the game. Every map has a huge billboard on it that says Masters is happening with the dates and stuff. That is good marketing from the developers.
Yeah, it's just very cool.
I like that they've learned some lessons at least. I feel like, there's a lot of people that don't like Riot running and to be fair, Riot hasn't been perfect, I would say, with Valorant. We've talked about like the caster, like region locking. We're talking about, formats could be better controlled, but still things like this are really, really good and important. Even if you make fuck ups early on in the scene for like other things, having strong foundations with building your scene, like this marketing campaign, I feel like in some ways overrides those, simply because this will do a lot more for you long term, theoretically, and will far outweigh whatever harm you did from like the caster region locking initially, right? Like, in my personal opinion, it's a sort of a utilitarian view of like viewing it, but like I feel like this is a really good step from Riot, because it shows that they sort of know exactly all the mistakes that have been made with games in the past, and like how you can bring in your casual audience more and more into it.
Yeah.
And like they're learning from those mistakes I think, in a very good way, where they're trying to much more vertically integrate every level of their audience and the people that are playing Valorant into the esports ecosystem.
It's very, very cool. And it stands out enough that people aren't going to think that it's just this new Easter egg, Because there's probably going to be a lot of casual players that are playing this. They don't know what esports is. They've never heard of it. Despite the fact that we come from the community, I imagine it's hard to imagine that there are people playing Valorant that are not aware that esports exists, that there's a competitive scene behind it, but they do exist out there. Like, there's a lot of casual players that are just jumping into the game. They're playing Escalation, they're playing Spike Rush, to buy the skin, and they lock Sage because Sage is their favorite character. And that is a huge portion of the player base. The more of those people you convert into esports fans, the bigger this game will get. And this is the correct step to do so. I don't know the numbers on how effective it is, but it can't hurt at the end of the day. And Riot in the past has never shied away from including esports stuff in the in-game client. Every time I boot up League of Legends, I get an advertisement for a fucking T1 SKT Telecom skin or something. Yeah. Like, the esports is right there in front of you. And I mean, League of Legends is very successful in itself for a variety of reasons. I'm not sure how much that has contributed towards it, but it can't hurt. And it's very cool to see them put so much emphasis, I think, on the Masters event, which is something that I've been saying for a while, is that for all the complaints about the challenges and like them experimenting so much and not broadcasting all of the games, it's very clear that they want this to be the showcase of Valorant esports for a lot of people for the first time. They are putting all of their eggs in the Champions or the Masters 1 basket. So yeah, it's going to be pretty sick, even if it's just regional for now, but it all leads into Masters 2, of course, in the future as well with the LAN.
Yeah. And it leads me to believe we're going to see a lot more stuff like that in game, like things like gun buddies with team logos, or even team skins, just things along those lines that they're interested in putting the esports side of the game as a visible part of the game itself.
I want to, those teddy bears that are hidden around the map. I want one of them with Ardis's head on it. So instead of a teddy bear, it's just a little Latvian scouse man, but with a teddy bear's body. When you go past it, it goes, "I walk on fucking water." And then you go, "Oh yeah, hello Ardis," and you carry on.
Hello Ardis.
And you carry on. That's what I want. That's the end goal for me with esports integration into the game.
I like how... No, I'm not going to say it.
Go on. Okay.
I was just going to say, I don't know, it's refreshing to have a player like Ardis in an esports scene who is just so English. Like, he is so like, if he didn't get into...
he isn't. He's Latvian as well.
Sure, but like, I mean, presumably raised in Liverpool.
I mean, with an accent like that, he must have been, right?
If he wasn't into esports, would probably be shaving his head and going down to the local for a couple of pints on a regular basis. Maybe he already does. I don't know. But it's refreshing to have players like him in the scene that are just personalities. Yeah. I don't know. I like it. Let's get into the actual esports news. Not to say that previously wasn't esports news, but some of the player transfers that are going on, because Ethan has joined 100 Thieves, replacing Dicey. This has got me feeling a little bit conflicted. I think people are very, very kind of the general consensus around this news is that it's a positive move for 100 Thieves. For the longest time, Dicey, there's no disagreement, I think, from any of us. Maybe you guys can put up an argument, but Dicey looked like the weakest player, I think, over the course of the tournaments recently. Maybe not the most recent one.
Yeah, most recent one he played really well, actually.
But across the board, generally, I think the 100 Thieves fans, I think in general, the consensus was the narrative that Dicey was kind of the weak link on this team. And they're replacing him with a very well-versed Counter-Strike player in the form of Ethan.
Yeah, I think the reason Dicey stood out in that way, though, was because he was only on Jett. I feel like that is what actually made it stand out, was that he wasn't bringing the same versatility to the team that the other players did. And I also think that I feel that post that op nerf, it took him a bit of time to get adjusted to playing Jett as more of a heavy rifler, especially on attack, where I think that his best moments historically were when he was on Immortals and the op was still at full power and he was just a freak.
He also had, though, great moments on Immortals with the jet knives as well. Mm-hmm. He had so many clutches where he was playing at a super high level. And I don't know, he seemed like a player with a huge amount of potential when he was playing for Immortals. And it all seemed to evaporate on 100 Thieves. And I wonder whether it was him like really trying to... Have you ever had that feeling when you're playing with players that you know are better than you and with opponents that you know are better than you, or you perceive that to be the case? And so you're thinking way more about what you're doing and you're trying to always be doing the right thing. Yeah. And it just takes you out of the moment. Yeah. I think that might have affected Dicey here. I think Dicey was maybe the wrong fit for 100 Thieves, and 100 Thieves might have been the wrong fit for Dicey. I don't necessarily think Dicey's a bad player, though. And I don't think that like a team won't take a chance on him or anything like that. I think Dicey's got better than what he showed in 100 Thieves, like to 100%. Bring to the table. Maybe not in terms of the agent versatility, like you're saying. That could definitely be something that he needs to work on. But in terms of the actual Jett gameplay that we saw from Dicey over the last few months, I think he can hit higher peaks than that, and I think we've seen higher peaks than that in the past. Yeah, it felt like watching someone who's they weren't in the moment. They were, like second guessing all the decisions that they made.
I think that's pretty fair. I think that him today, he can still be the star player on a top 10 team without a doubt. I mean, he's now he has to be the best free agent now in NA. I think without a question.
I'm sure people will bring up Braxton AZK because they.
Well, there's also technically we're going to talk about them later. Tex is still on the market as well as a free agent, but and I think but also Dicey has had far better
Dicey has definitely proven more against top teams than any of those three players.
A shame. Yeah, to not see Dicey get picked up.
I do feel like his role changed a lot, though. We talk about his time with Immortals a lot, like saying, like, oh, you could do this, right? But he went to 100 Thieves, and I feel like it definitely was not just him probably being in an environment with all these, like, big names and, like, sort of having to deal with his confidence as a player and his own, inconsistency issues, but also I feel like his role, like, when you look at the old Immortal squad and 100 Thieves, the way both those teams played, I would say are relatively different in terms of like we have a relatively passive at times supporting line with 100 Thieves, and they relied very heavily on Astra and Dicey to be like those more aggressive space making players, which I mean is their role, right? But I don't necessarily think Dicey was forced as much into like that space creation role with his time with Immortals as he was with 100 Thieves. Like, I feel like there was a little bit more weight on his shoulders there to be the spear point with Asuna, and he just wasn't really hitting that spear point levels, and it really wasn't his role before with Immortals. And considering how young he is, I think it's something that he's going to have to learn how to grow into, or else he will fall behind, simply because if he's been a duelist player for most of his career, especially Jett, he sort of needs to learn that role, but ideally maybe in like a new team.
Yeah. He also, I think that Gangster gets underrated a lot in these systems when you're talking about Immortals and being able to help support these duelist players that they have. Whereas that support and being like right behind or right with the duelists from
Wasn't
Gangster
really
at times.
a thing in 100 Thieves.
I mean, it's never going to be a thing in 100 Thieves because you're playing with Hiko, who provides you a lot of assistance with utility, but he's never going to be right there with you with his rifle, like creating a distraction or being there to like double peek a player with you or hold down an area. Like the 100 Thieves system is built with Steel often playing different areas of the maps a bit more solo, and Hiko playing right at the back of the pack. And that puts enormous pressure on Asuna and Dicey to not just create space, but create and hold space independently of other people coming to assist them. And that's a hard system to be able to work within, I think, if you're a duelist.
It's a hard job.
And I that's why I still think that Dicey can be a good player on other teams, and I think he can even be much better than he showed on 100 Thieves.
I mean, 100 Thieves, I can't remember if it was Steel or Hiko who said on their stream about the justification and reasoning. I think Dicey said as well, but it was like his agent pool was one of the lacking things, right? Because they wanted to play a lot of different compositions. But I agree with your point. I think that the system that was in place for 100 Thieves was not set up for Dicey to see success. Like, you just need... The way that 100 Thieves is almost set out to define success with the way that they were playing, at least it seems like they're in the process of changing stuff up as well. They've said that they want to play different compositions, but the way they were playing, you needed like two absolute crackhead entry guys who could hold their own with, I'm not going to say no support because they were getting some support, but it wasn't really the same situation that was set up in Immortals. Now, Ethan coming in, I've seen a lot of hype around this, but one of the things that people aren't really discussing is the concept that 100 Thieves, this is their last opportunity to qualify.
Oh, yeah.
And they've just brought in Ethan on short notice. I don't know how much Ethan has been playing the game.
So
we know Ethan's good.
When they announced Ethan, they'd only been playing with him for 2 to 3 days. So I can't do the math in my head of exactly when they announced him, but it's not long.
This could be quite problematic because especially if they're making radical changes to the system and the way they play with compositions, that can honestly just knock you down in terms of the rankings in the rest of the teams in North America very easily because it just changes up the entire system and the entire approach of where you play the game. Ethan's getting a lot of hype coming in, and rightfully so, because the guy is a well-respected Counter-Strike player. You know, at some point he was right at the top, and I mean he still was you can argue when he was left the CS scene. But Counter-Strike players coming into this game, you get the fundamentals, but there's so much more outside of that. In terms of the way that Valorant is played compared to Counter-Strike. And getting Ethan up to speed with that quick enough for them to qualify for the Challengers 3 is going to be a really hard task, I think. And 100 Thieves got it cut out for them right now. Maybe they can catch him up to speed quickly. And Ethan is the caliber and quality of pro player. I would say that's the kind of thing you need to be looking at, aside from the fact that he came from CS, is the fact that he has played at the very highest level in another esports. Yeah. That's the most important quality, because it means he's got what it takes in whatever game he moves into. But it's going to be hard to bring him up to speed. I'm worried for 100 Thieves.
If you need any more evidence as to how far Valorant has progressed from the beginning, when you would just see the CS guys hop on and they were the best. Yeah. If you just look at Automatic now, and I don't want to single him out like he's not good or something, because he's improving, and it was what we said, and I had specifically said on the previous episode when we talked about T1 getting knocked out with the original roster. You can tell how fresh he was. Yes. And he's already been improving to his credit, which is why I'm not trying to like single him out. But I think he's a good example.
To use another example as well, Kusta, when he came in, was looking very formulaic when he first joined Gen.G. Yeah. And it's only after, I would say, like 2 weeks or something of playing with them. Maybe it was a little longer than that, though. Longer than that. Yeah, maybe it was on the end of like a month. But he now looks like he's really grown into his own, and he has a great read on the game, and he's developed a lot as a player within that short period of time. So I personally think that the trajectories are massively, they go up very quickly for top CS players. But at the beginning, it does take a while.
Yeah. It still takes time. And they don't have a lot of time.
No, they don't. It's also a little concerning for 100 Thieves because Ethan's coming in to play smokes for them. Mm-hmm. And this is according to what they've said on stream, so maybe it'll change as well. And apparently they're trying out Nitro in like a flex position where currently they were saying he's playing Sage. That might move to like him playing Jett or something. I don't know whether they're going to stick to the solo duelist composition, but that at least was what Ethan was saying on stream is what they're trying right now is Ethan on
Yeah.
Smoke, Nitro on Sage. I don't know what agent specifically Aston is playing. Maybe it's map dependent, but that's the comp that they're going forwards with. Seems
I'm also
interesting.
worried for the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Josh. I thought you were still going.
No, I am done. Except to say that seems interesting. Like that is a reinventation of 100 Thieves style. It's a comp that I think favors them in terms of how they like to play. They weren't the most aggressive team in the world, so I don't think they were getting big value out of double duelist comps, to be honest. And I think Nitro seems like the kind of player who would be able to pick up Sage. But you are taking him off his role that he was probably best at in North America, like the best smoke player in North America. So you're now like Ethan's having to play that. Nitro's having to get used to Sage. Your team's going through a bit of a restructuring process right before you qualify for Masters.
What were you going to say, Avast?
I think that I guess to start with Josh's point is that they also talked how they feel that the smoke role, like with Omen in particular, it was like they feel like it was a role that they could easily transition someone from CS into Valorant for, because it's the most similar like type of setup of like, okay, we're smoking, we're executing on site, you're doing a flash and we're swinging on your paranoia, like type of thing. And I think that's where they feel like, they're going to do that move is like, sure, Nitro may be going off that role, but they feel probably Nitro is definitely familiar enough with the game to where they can move him to different things. And since Ethan's so new, but also so talented, the smoke is once again a good role for him, because they feel, as according to Steel, that it is the most like fundamental role in Valorant for like a new CS player is like a smoker and like someone that you just set up. So I don't necessarily disagree with their thing, but obviously it's a lot of uncertainty. For me, it's more of, I'm also just worried from the perspective of, this is a team that came in with huge expectations this year. They did amazing at the end of last, and they haven't had success. They still haven't qualified. Now they're making some last minute changes, and there's going to be clearly a mental like hurdle to overcome for this squad as well, going into the final like qualification. And they've brought in new players and they're swapping roles. And I feel like that's like the biggest thing more than anything is just the mentality of this squad now. It's like, oh my God, we were like the best team at the end of last year. We failed now relatively spectacularly for not relatively spectacularly, only one of them really, but like for 2 qualifiers now. And now we're going to our third and our last chance. And we have to make this work. And that's like the type of like pressure that is going to break a team or is going to sort of make it, it's like, it's one of the two.
I'm quite worried for 100 Thieves. Honestly, I mean, some of the fans might be wondering, well, why? Because of the quality of these players on these teams, they'll probably be fine. And I think the one thing they do have going for them is that it is arguably easier to qualify. Like the quality of teams that are going to be in that qualification bracket for Challengers 3, theoretically, it's going to be easier to qualify, I guess, because
there's still some
teams
decent teams. I mean, we'll go through it at the end of the episode, but there's still some.
Yeah. So they've got that going for them, but like you said, Josh, there are still some good teams, and we're gonna go over that and like who we expect to actually qualify. But at the same time, I'm concerned because I think there's a big emphasis in the scene to overvalue what it means to come from a game like Counter-Strike and how much that actually means in a game like Valorant at this stage. Like you said, Wyatt, a while ago, that would have been fine. The CS guys come in, they dominate, but maybe with Ethan coming into an environment where they can bring him up to speed, I'm fretting over nothing. I hope so, at least, because I don't want to see 100 Thieves just squander this opportunity. But I'm a little bit concerned.
Yeah, my thought process goes like this. I agree with everything that they've done. I think that all of these moves are good for them in the long term. The only concern is that Masters, or rather Challengers 3, is right around the corner. That's the only concern I have. Other than that, I think all of the moves they've made here make complete sense and will be good for them long term. Yeah. And all it is a question of whether they can get their shit together before Challengers 3. That's it. That's the only 100%. Question. And I think that's still a bit of a question. It's not like they are doomed to fail by any means. They're really smart. Ethan's fantastically talented. They could get him up to speed and get the system working and qualify and even look better than they did previously. That could all happen. But I think there is just this slight bit of worry that it might have been a little too late for them to make this change. But I still, broadly speaking, I have faith that they'll be able to get it through. They have some teams that they should just be able to outskill. They have some tough matches that they should be able to get through. They only need to make top 4 in Challengers 3. I think they should be fine here. And assuming they overcome this first hurdle, they should be better in the future. So long term, feel great about 100 Thieves. In the very, very, very short term, slightly worried, but I still think it's going to be all right.
Yeah, I'm in 100% agreement. I think that Ethan will definitely be a great player given some time. But I think, the pattern that we're now seeing is the game has developed too far for someone to just jump in and be good off the rip. Like they just, for as good as these players are, for as good as Automatic is, the dude still needs time.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to probably see the same thing, which, is another good reason to put him on the smoke roll. I mean, I think for them to make it through at this point, I think you're going to need to see a lot more in this Challenger 3 from Asuna and Nitro. I think Asuna is going to need to play lights out again.
Asuna had a bit of a weird.
Yeah, he had a bit of an off tournament and in Challengers too, and you could see how much that affected the entirety of the team and their ability to actually execute. And I think that whatever role Nitro switches to, he's going to need to really provide a lot of value as well. And listen, if Ethan can just turn up and be at least fragging really well off the bat, even if maybe his sense for the timings and the utility isn't 100% yet, that could be enough too. And like I said, they need to be in the top half of the teams. They certainly can still do that. They have the caliber of player to do that. But I will say, last time they had to switch out a player, and they had Silanx, who was a good player, they lost to Carpe Noctem. So
but Silanx isn't Ethan.
Right, but
Silanx was still Valorant longer.
To Silanx's credit, he had been playing Valorant, and he's a good upcoming player that they just got into the team, and they lost to Carpe Noctem.
Yeah.
So I think that I don't know. We'll have to see. There's no way to say for sure.
The trouble, I mean, it goes back for me looking at 100 Thieves. The system that they were playing with, that they had in place, really relied on Asuna and Dicey to have good performances to hold their own. And if it was a glaring weakness in Challengers 2 to their kind of style and the way they like to play, is if Asuna wasn't really popping off, then this team struggled. Hopefully now that they're in the process of changing their structure and the way they like to play, the compositions they like to play, that won't be the case, and they won't end up flopping very early on. But time will tell. I'm a little bit concerned, like you said, in the short term. I'm not going to reiterate it again, just hammering home the same points, really. We can move on. In other news, Equinox has this weird radio silence going on social media with their roster. Now, they've dropped their entire roster, but I think they went on a Dustin Bowerman show to clarify that they're just retooling, and look, they still want to be in the scene, but they're retooling.
I mean, awesome for Dustin. What an odd spot for Equinox to be doing like PSAs.
It's pretty funny, but
it's cool.
Yeah, it is. I didn't know what to make of this because it read to me, and they could have just been. I don't know. So I'm not gonna say that. But what this felt to me, what it read to me when I first saw it was they're just done with Valorant, because out of all the players, surely, if you were going to attempt to stay in Valorant, or even, I don't know what the hell was happening with Texas' contract, what was going on there, but surely they would have tried to keep him, right?
Yeah, I also really rate Mina. I think Mina's a really good player too.
And I think they kept Pancakes, and Pancakes has been really solid recently. But
have they not dropped their entire roster then?
No, they still have Pancakes and Cute Fat Boy.
Wait, what?
I just assumed that they hadn't tweeted about it. They've genuinely kept those those two
Pancakes
players.
And Cute Fat Boy.
That is so odd because they've dropped the pieces that I thought were the best on the team in terms of Tex and Mina.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
I don't know what to make of it.
Someone said there was rumors going around that they felt like that Equinox wanted to they felt like they'd missed the train on some sort of franchise spot in Valorant or something. That was the original goal.
Yeah, well, that was
that doesn't make any sense because doesn't seem to be how it's set up. And if that is how it's set up, that's still potentially years in the future.
Franchise when? In the first year?
Yeah. I don't know why that is the rumor that was even been circulating, but I feel like that's a silly rumor because that's that would be if
I'm dying to give background info.
I don't even know. I simply don't know what's going on there. And also what happened with
I'm dying to give background info.
Since Wyatt was Tex, he's signed to LG right now. Tex has moved on to a different Dignitas, whatever. He's signed to a new roster right now. He's 100 mil. 100 mil contract already. Like he's there. And then now Tex is gone. So, and which is also, like we said, why would we drop that piece? Like he seems like such a promising piece to this roster.
Or at the very
why would, and also Mina's good, but like Tex
did they sign him to a 1-month contract?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's weird. Like
they just released him. I mean, surely they could have sold him for like, I don't know, at least $500 or something. They could have paid for lunch for the office with his contract. I mean, did they really think no one was going to buy him?
We need more.
And also, why not tweet?
Okay, but anyway, I was just going to say,
what's the background?
I'm trying to give the background because you were speaking to the rumor. That rumor started because it is what D-Cop had said on his stream, and it had been clipped. And D-Cop is obviously an ex-player. So
I feel like we're ancient linguistics. We're trying to piece together an old civilization.
Well, that's the thing that always happens with players and with small organizations is that everyone gets the wrong end of the stick.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Do you remember how much that happened in Overwatch before franchising came in?
Yes.
Where there were rumors of the Overwatch League. People understood only the bare concept of there will be franchises, they will be tied to cities. And so Renegades decided to become the Detroit 5-hour Renegades in an attempt to like get a spot. Like that was the way you were going to get a spot. We had the Hollywood Hammers that just decided to pop up and do that.
Hammers?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's not a real team.
No, it was my old
Nope.
org. That was my old organization, was Hammers Esports. And then we got signed to LG, and then we told Hammers, hey, you guys should sign this team called the Chavs. They play in Europe right now. Like, if you still want to spawn, and then they were like, "Oh, that's cool." And then franchisings are like, "We're gonna pick like the what's it called, like the Hollywood Theater or whatever,
Yeah,
like whatever
the famous
the
Hollywood
Chinese theater.
That's what it is. The Chinese, and then they became the Hollywood Hammers, just random.
Then they partnered with the Chinese theater as if that would be their venue in Hollywood before they'd presumably ever been in talks with Blizzard.
Yeah.
Like,
but to be fair, that happened with all, like you said, so many different orgs.
Exactly, so many different orgs.
Yeah.
Like Envision's owner as well was really mad that he wasn't able to like get into the league and buy a spot. He like angrily tweeted about that. And there was Toronto Esports who were mad that the Toronto Defiant existed because they had claimed the spot as the Toronto team before them.
I think there was also, I think like E United had that same problem with their roster. Like one of the, or like, and like even like some of the other European organizations.
Fnatic as well.
Endemic esports orgs don't understand how publishers and developers pick franchise partners. If they don't get in on the ground floor with those talks, then they're left outside the loop and they just don't understand how to get in. And they do all sorts of weird shit in an attempt to get into the loop. And then they realize they're on the outside and they just kind of kaboom and get mad about it as well. So this kind of stuff, that's why the rumor seemed to have some credibility, because I'd seen stuff like that happen constantly in Overwatch before franchising. But at least that was when the Overwatch League was announced. Riot hasn't even announced any franchising stuff. And if it does happen, surely it's like 3 years in the future. It's not going to be like next Tuesday they announce that a franchise league is happening and Equinox are like, darn it, we missed out. There's no way.
I wonder, there might be some truth to that, because I think Equinox they're like a city-based team.
Are they?
As well. I'm pretty sure they are. You could pull it up, Kurt. I'm pretty sure Equinox.
What is this?
See, and also, why hasn't they tweeted about releasing the roster? To me, I know a lot of people are like, well, the org doesn't have to tweet the release of players. It's like, but that's sort of like the baseline expectation of an org in relation to players and rosters, is that like, you don't just like wipe your ass with them on the way out. Like you sort of like, hey, we're parting ways. Here's what's happening. Because also it acts as a springboard for players to also get some publicity to potentially find a new team. Like it helps everyone understand what is the situation, make sure that it doesn't give this PR impression that the org is treating them poorly in the release, and also helps players find a new spot. Like there's a reason why release tweets exist, and like why orgs make them, and like obviously no one's owed it, but it's much the same way no one is owed to not spit in my face when I walk out the door. Like no one has to not spit in my face, but like obviously I'd prefer if you didn't spit in my face.
It's
and
like
that's sort of like
it's like my granddad decided one of these years that he didn't want to exchange Christmas presents anymore with my family, because we would give them a Christmas present. They give us a Christmas present. Sometimes nobody really likes the gift that they give. You know, it's a bit of hassle. He's a very he's a very straight up guy, and he's like, well, why don't we just do something nice instead of exchanging gifts? A lot of my family got pissed off at that because the gift giving process is about the meaning behind it. It's about the like, hey, I thought about you and I bought something that shows that I care about you, and it's about being thoughtful. That's what this is like.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's not a requirement to be a civilized human being, but you're gonna piss people off because there's a cultural expectation that you're supposed to be kind to players as they leave and like thank them for their
What
time
you're
and
saying
stuff.
is your grandfather is the owner of Equinox.
Yes, and he's
foil.
in on the ground floor with franchising.
Yeah,
I can
he
tell
is.
you that. I can tell you that.
If you do want to tin foil it though, their at on Twitter is Equinox OKC because they're like Equinox Oklahoma City.
So how does this tie into David Dennis?
I don't think this
And the
one's
fraud
David.
conspiracy.
Where is the fraud conspiracy theory here? Where is this? When is the gaming Pulitzer being awarded? I need to know, when is the gaming Pulitzer being awarded?
Okay, well, let's talk about another team. Dignitas has made some signings, I believe. Yep, Rara and Ryan being signed to Dignitas. I don't have much to say on this one, so I'll leave the floor open to you, gents, regarding this one. Josh, you want to kick it off?
I know Josh wants to get something off about Dig.
I mean, I actually really like this Dignitas roster. I
they're
feel positive about them for the future. Rara's a huge addition to this team. And I think if they'd been able to play in Challengers 3, they would have had a chance of being able to make it through. I'm not saying that I would have predicted them to make Masters as like a top 4 team in Challengers 3, but I think they could have made a bit of a run. They got outskilled in their match against TSM, which is really the last time that we saw them. But Rara looks like an exceptionally talented player. Ryan, when I was watching, looked like he was out of his depth, honestly. Like, I think that he needs to put in some work. But also, I haven't really seen them play enough to have a thorough understanding of what was going wrong for them. I just saw a lot of promise, a decent upgrade. I mean, not just decent, a really good upgrade for when it comes to Rara, and like a good team system. And I'm always a fan of Def, what he does from IGLing and from the Sentinel. I feel like this team's got some promise for sure. I am just disappointed that we didn't get to see them, which I think was because Sam was in hospital. So I'm hoping that everything's been all right on that front as well, because I haven't really been checking on social.
Yeah, for sure. The results just didn't do how good they actually could be justice, I think, at the end of the day. So we'll just have to see them in the next, Challengers 1, I guess now. The next Challengers 1 will be the next time we see them. But
God,
I
just
think
never-ending cycle of challenges.
True. I think that they have a good chance of making it through at that point, though. At least to the Challenger closed, for sure. So yeah, I mean, I think this is where they look to be good moves. So I'm definitely more excited for Dignitas than I had been over the last 4 months or so.
I mean, there's not much to say, right? We're just sitting here being like, well, they could be good in the future, and that's kind of how I feel about them. Is like, I think there's promise now. They've made some nice moves, and we're gonna have to just sit there and I'm going to watch this just nest upon the egg a while until it hatches, and then the little Dig chick pops on up. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll see how it ends up. So you said Challengers 1. Are they not allowed to play in Challengers 3 qualification?
They didn't.
They didn't.
They just didn't. They just
backed out.
They opted into not doing it.
Yeah. They would have run into TSM again in the bracket, though.
Yeah.
Which is
So
just
silly.
ludicrous, but yeah.
That's reasonable, I think, though. If you're retooling a roster, you want to just, wow.
Well, I think it was just because Sam was in hospital.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
they didn't have
Yeah.
the players to be able to play properly.
Right. Talking about different teams. What a segue. Liquid. Liquid have added Jamppi. We can talk about this one now. This kind of got announced. We caught the tail end of the Eccles being dropped announcement on our last show. Now we can talk about the addition of Jamppi here. I'm optimistic about this because I think our general agreement was that Liquid needed to make changes. If they were going to make changes, now would be the time, as early as possible, honestly, because they had so many, I'm not going to say mediocre finishes, but they had so many opportunities to just really go far. Even when they were looking their best, they ended up going out first round to Heretics. So it's like they had so many opportunities to to look good, and they've never really lived up to it since the Liquid organization has picked up these players. And now you're starting to actually see some real change being enacted. I have a lot of faith in the structure of this team. I think adding Jamppi, it's a similar situation to adding a player like Ethan in 100 Thieves. Short term, probably going to be quite turbulent, but long term, probably going to be quite a successful change for them. I don't know if you guys are in agreement with that.
Yeah, at the moment, since we are recording this mid-EU open qualifier, we haven't actually been able to see this Liquid team play yet, but I'm assuming we'll be able to see them towards the end of the qualifier. They've won their games so far, but we can at least glean a bit from their comp, which is that they have Jamppi playing Jett, and they've put Scream back on the Reyna, which is the Scream comfort pick, really. And I think that makes sense, especially for the short term. That makes sense for them just wanting to qualify, just play comfort roles, frag out, and try to make it through. I mean, every game so far, all we can really take is from stats. Scream is just top fragged every game. So presumably he's just pounding these amateur teams playing Reyna, and that is really the story. And I've seen some people point to Jamppi not having excellent stats so far on the Jett. But yeah, as you were saying, Bren, that can just be him getting his sea legs, you know?
I mean, there's no agent in CS that's like Jett.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing that exists like it. Like the very concept of the agent itself, especially the way she's played these days in terms of taking space of your dash and times, it's a new concept. So it's turbulent to begin with, but I imagine they will see success. The question is, can they grasp enough of it in the short term to have success in this tournament?
I'm still worried for Liquid. I still don't think that this is the final roster that's going to work. And to me, it doesn't even come down to Jamppi, to be honest. It comes down to Link, because I believe that he's their new IGL.
Yeah.
I could be wrong on that, but that's the stirrings.
No, I heard that as well.
Yeah, I think that was what they were saying. And I think it comes well, I think it comes down to that. Also, I haven't looked at their VLR page recently on the games that they've been winning because there haven't been any VODs. Do you know what Soulcast has been playing? Is he back on Sova?
Oh, God, I forget
sure.
already. Can you pull it up?
I don't think we know comps, do we?
No, we do.
is
You can see them.
Sky
No,
and
you can see the
Sova.
comps.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Sky and Sova.
yeah, I see Sova, Sky. So
Right. So
okay.
the two people that need to perform well for this team to work, in my opinion, are Soulcast on the Sova, which I know that Soulcast on the Raze is really good, and it seems like he played it for one of the maps. They played Triple Duelist, actually, in that map there. But wait, where have I gone? Oh, no, maybe that was a previous game, actually. Anyway, the two people that need to play well. Soulcast, absolutely on the Sova, because his Sova has not been at the same level as his other agents, and it's been a problem for them in the past. And Link on IGL. I think Scream and Jamppi are going to be fine. I don't think that's ever going to be the reason that they lose games. I think it's going to come down to the two British guys, again, being able to support them adequately. Link's an incredibly good player, but can he get those good performances in the matches that actually matter? And can he IGL to a high level in the matches that matter? And can Soulcast play Sova very well? And again, perform in the matches that matter? That, I think, I still have questions about that. And I think that if it doesn't work out this time, it's almost inevitable that another change needs to be made in order to make the roles fit more comfortably. I don't think you can make it work with Scream perma playing Reyna and not having somebody who's really comfortable on Sova. Sova's maybe the only, you need someone that plays Sova in your team. There isn't really another agent that's like that. You could maybe get away with playing Brim on all maps if you didn't have someone who
I
comfortable
found out
with
the
Omen.
other day, actually, with you playing Sova.
Yeah.
There's a knowledge gap.
Oh, yeah. There really is. Sova's uncomfortable if you're not familiar with him. And you are going to get gapped by other people in terms of just the utility value you bring to the team, but also your positioning and how you're able to rifle and catch people off guard. It's all based on timings and game sense as well. I don't know, man. I'm not feeling it with this Liquid roster, but it's nothing to do with Jamppi. It's just that I don't think this move really solved a problem for them other than firepower.
I still think it's going to be enough for them to just roll their way through that.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I don't. They're really strong. I mean, they're at this point with the teams remaining. So I feel like they're probably okay. As long as Scream is still dropping 35 kills a game, You know, I really don't know.
Scream was being enabled by Eccles, you know, the entire play style that a lot of them were playing.
They're not running a breach now.
They're not running the breach, so it's like...
He also gets enabled by Reyna's.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah, but also, you can't compare... People are going to do this, and it's going to make me mauled, comparing Jamppi's Jett to Scream's Jett. If you're about to go and do that, if you're going to look at the stats of this tournament and compare the two... Fucking stop. Close your browser. Don't do it. Because playing a breach with the Jett just gives Scream so many free kills on flashed opponents compared to what Jamppi's playing in these current comps. I mean, unless Soulcast is running around with the sky flashes, like trying to feed birds to Jamppi.
There's no way.
But that can't be the style that they're playing. No. So please do not make that comparison. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, a lot of risks being taken by orgs this close to the kind of qualification of the Challengers events and even Masters as well, because another team that's taken risks is Alliance. Wow.
Yeah, they are.
This is such an odd change, is that they've ended up removing Cregan before Masters. Cregan, Creation.
It's Creagon, apparently.
Creagon. An intriguing change, honestly. Alliance were an interesting team for me because they really did just come out of absolutely nowhere, in my eyes. I mean, it was just it seemed like a well put together roster in terms of the trialing process. They brought together a good group of lads, and
the player talent wasn't great on paper, but they've actually massively overperformed that.
And they ended up qualifying for Masters, but removing one of these pieces for it. And the question is, like, I mean, did
they give any stated reason as to why this has happened? Sure. Is there anything like the meta situation, or are they just like he's gone?
They did give a reason, but it was on like the Alliance website, and it was like a statement from Banks,
like a PR,
and
statement?
It was very PR. It'll be on here, I think. Whoa, that's tiny text. Yeah, here we go. We've decided to remove Creagon from the team, effective immediately, which is very dramatic wording, isn't it? Incredible individual player, helped us get to where we are, but his lack of team experience made us make the decision to bring a new player in so we can continue our growth and reach our goals. It might be the case that, I don't know, man. When I was watching VODs, Creagon was pushing areas. He was taking so many risks when they're on defense. When I was watching them play on Haven, he was just dry pushing into grass based on no information regularly in the rounds. And he also, like, there was a moment where a Sova, I can't remember which team they were playing against, a Sova got close to the garage doors and droned into garage, and Creagon has a Spectre, and he just runs out of garage to try and kill the Sova. Without, like, there's always going to be someone guarding that body. And he just got away with getting the kill on the Sova and got killed. But he was so lucky to get that kill. It's like such a bad move to try and go for that. It wasn't combo with a breach flash, although some of his pushes were combo with breach flashes. That one wasn't. And that, I don't know, like watching him felt to me that he wasn't making the smartest decisions in the world. But that was only in some instances. In other instances, he was very well coordinated with the team. I don't know whether that factored into it or whether that's just an anomaly that I noticed about his play on Haven. Maybe there's like a big free agent that they wanted to pick up specifically.
Yeah.
And he ended up being the piece that had to fall.
I mean, is there a big free agent that we can even think of?
Happy.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, Happy just got cut from Giants.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
And I guess especially with Banks coming from CS, he would rate Happy very highly. Happy's been good in the games that we saw, but he was, I mean, recently cut, and we haven't been able to see many games of Giants recently. So I guess doesn't even fit in with the team. I mean, Wave actually just cut some people as well. They just cut X Tribune and wasn't there another player as well that they removed? Maybe it was I think it was just X Tribune. But I don't know whether that would be a player they're going for. Like, that isn't like a huge free agent on the market that you would really want to pick up. So I don't know. It's an odd move because they qualified for Masters. Like, the team was working well, and their teamwork was generally decent. I would imagine that it's just a matter of coaching to get Creagon up to speed if you have issues with how he was playing. But I don't know. It's hard to know until you see who they're replacing him with.
I'm not sure. I mean, the good news is they have time, I suppose, because of the Masters event. You know, there's still Challengers 3 to be played. So it's, they've got time to find an additional player. They must have someone in mind if they're making immediate decisions.
They've got it.
Like it just it would be silly to not have players.
Yeah,
in
man,
mind.
you can't be not scrimming and only have 4 players for like.
Well, I mean, considering they're saying they want to bring in a player that has
Right.
more team experience. They have someone lined up here, 100%.
Yes. Yeah.
We'll see. Any other thoughts on this before I move on? No.
Nope.
Yeah, this next I mean, this next segment's a good one. I mean, we've got a new development in the David Denis algorithm. The latest update. We got Curry being signed, T1 Curry.
This is DD version 8, isn't it?
DD8 is
DD8.
We found out that David Denis's like gaming alias is DD8. And yeah, I am theorizing that is the update of David Denis that we're dealing with. This is like version 8 of David Denis. The previous version, version 7.
I
wasn't
hope he
quite
never
making-
watches these.
Yeah, I there's a part of me that's like, we're talking about a real human being here, but the joke is just,
It's just too good.
it's too good.
It's too good.
It's too good.
I really do like wish him all the best with being the
Yeah,
head
of
coach of
course.
T1. It's just the videos are so funny, man.
The videos-
are just so funny.
Can we show the Curry video? Because you pointed out
let's show the
Wyatt.
Curry video.
It is so funny.
Yeah.
Let's show the Curry video here, Kirk, because
I love the
this is
Curry
something that
video.
everyone should experience.
It opens
It
up
should.
with our favorite coach, David Denis.
Yep.
David Denis.
In his room.
It's a legendary one.
Same angle.
There he is.
Same
There he is.
Yes.
Same background.
It's
Let's
something.
go.
It's something about the resolution, I think, as well. The fact that it's not like crispy clear makes you think it could have been created. And then Curry just
There's no
screaming.
audio, but I love that the producer of this video told her, you should say, let's fucking go. And we'll put
And
that
then
in
we
the
bleep.
intro for you. And then he does it.
Man, I
play
hope
the
there's gonna be
audio?
like a David Denis cinematic universe, where we compile like all the David Denis clips, and you can make like a little movie with them. And like, I hope David Denis does watch this,
Guys,
because
we're excited
we're
to
gonna have a
talk to you
David
here
Denis
today.
cinematic universe. It's gonna be
Oh.
great.
We got the audio.
We're ready to officially announce that Curry is the newest member of our Valorant team.
Let's fucking go.
Oh,
so
yes,
good.
that's a top notch. See, Equinox, why couldn't you have done that? You could have flashed to your CEO, being like, "Let's fucking go!" Like as soon as they released the roster, let's fucking go, like franchise, like like why didn't we do that? What was that, Equinox?
I fucking love it.
By the way,
so good.
I think this whole David Denis meme has taken the attention away from Dazed a lot. Because
It's working
working.
it's
exactly
genuinely,
as intended.
it's actually working. David Denis is soaking up all of the attention and accountability on this team, and Dazed now has none of it. It's wild. It really is wild.
worked.
This is why I wanted them to announce who was like the actual thought process behind their additions
Right.
instead of PR speak, because Slasher actually went on someone whose stream was it? Flom. Yeah, he was on Flom's stream, and Slasher was talking about what he had heard behind the scenes about there being like a rift between Dazed and Brax, and like Dazed wanting the team to go in one direction and Brax and AZK wanting it to go in another. Like Brax wasn't particularly happy being stuck on Sentinel all the time, wanted to shift to Jett. They wanted a different direction for the team. There weren't that many specific details, but a bit of a schism in the team where they wanted to go in different directions. Brax and AZK end up getting released, and they go with Dazed's vision. And so a lot of the accountability, but also praise if they succeed, potentially belongs on Dazed's shoulders. And instead, the org is just made it seem like David Denis is the puppet master.
The figurehead.
It's frustrating to not know exactly whether it should be like we should be praising, because honestly, these like T1 don't look bad. I mean, they don't look great either, but they have a chance of qualifying for Masters. And if they did make it to Masters, I would want to give praise to the right person. And I don't know who it is.
You have
Please.
to send them to the HR resources Android. They rolled out David Denis V8.
Yeah.
That he's going to be there accepting all of it.
We need to get Dazed on the show. We need to get Dazed on back chat so he can just spill the beans, win the Pulitzer Prize, and complete the David Denis conspiracy.
Well, he would actually have to write the article to win the Pulitzer, though. Like giving the interviews is not enough. You have to then write it and submit it.
Well, then we could write it and we could win the Pulitzer.
You could write it, and then you could win the Pulitzer because you did the
I can
legwork to
write.
get Dazed in there.
I can write. I can use Google transcription and I'll just say it. It's perfect.
Yeah, so I mean, we've actually seen T1 play though in this match here, which was the qualifier for the Challengers 3, and yeah, it was an odd game because it was like two teams that are in the process of like recently making some changes that are still trying to work things through, and you're not really seeing them work at full potential yet. But
I mean, C9's attacking halves looked awful, absolutely, utterly lost, awful.
I was looking forward to talking about this game because I was watching your stream, watching the game, and I think we came away with very different opinions.
Really?
Of the game, at least on T1.
we can move on as well to our recap of
yeah,
Challengers.
we could just start by
because
recapping this game.
that's what we're
What a
doing.
segue! What a transition!
almost
Why? What did you?
Because
perfect.
it seemed I felt like you were more down on T1 than I was.
Yeah,
I was actually happy with the T1 I saw, and I was also satisfied with the Spider Jett this time. Where I think that I am in agreement with you that his Jett, when we had seen it in the first qualifier, was way off the mark. But I think that he was off the mark less so because of his actual play on Jett and more so because I think that the team and him were not effectively communicating the plays that they were attempting to make,
I agree with
especially
that.
in regards to the flash and dash plays where they just overcommitted to them over and over. In these games against Cloud9, I thought that his Jett now actually looked like he could be a star player on the Jett role for this team.
Here's my problem with the Spider Jett that we watched in this game against C9 is that he could have been playing any agent. Did not matter that he was playing Jett. The only thing he ever used his Jett utility for was when he took a duel, he dashed away. He was playing, when they were attacking on Icebox, he was just playing a passive role on A to cover the attackers, and he would try and lurk up. Do that on fucking any role you like. You've got more utility to use it. When they were attacking on their attacking half, they didn't use him to take space whatsoever. They were playing a slow default where they were trying to manipulate defender positions. They never once used him to try and make space on a bomb site, and he was just taking the op and holding positions. Everything that he was doing, he could have been doing on another role, and I think T1 are really gonna struggle to have that spear tip to their team because they've now relying so much on Skadoodle to do that on the Rays, where it's like they've just kind of given up with Spider, and he's playing his own little Spider minigame, but he happens to be playing Jett now, and he also has the op. His aim is fantastic. He's getting picks with the op and everything, but he's not with, they're not doing anything with the team. I don't know. It's not so much Spider is the problem, it's that T1 are not utilizing the pieces to maximum value. And I think against good teams, that's going to get exposed massively. I think they got away with murder here in the T1 game. Against Cloud9. Because Cloud9's attacking halves were non-existent. Absolutely, just simply non-existent. And Cloud9 on defense are just trying to set up trap plays, and the T1 slow defaults on attack were working because they were able to slowly push in and find picks.
I feel like you were making the same point that I was kind of getting at, though, where I think the problem is more so in the actual communication and setting him up in a lot of these situations, not his actual Jett play. Also, his ults on Jett were really good.
Sure.
I think that he looked like he had a lot of skill on the agent.
How long has Spider been on Jett now at this point?
Two events, this and the other challenger.
Yeah, and the other challenger, they were trying to run Skadoodle on Breach a lot.
Yeah.
And so they were trying to actually utilize Spider in an offensive space creating role, which I think takes way more game sense to play like that, which is why I'm not convinced about Spider's Jett yet, because while his game sense is fine when he's playing on his own, they haven't even, it's like they've given up with the team-based style of Jett. And if they start wanting to use that again, I haven't seen any evidence that he's going to be better than he was before. I mean, maybe he will, but I don't think you can use this game as evidence that it will be better, because they didn't try it.
In terms of setting up like micro team plays with utility,
in terms of him just engaging, dashing into sites.
He never dashed into site with like a cloud burst and like took space and made them he never forced C9 ever off their angles with the Jett play. He kind of just won duels and then like played an angle and got a pick and then dashed out every time. Like he really never did like an offensive, like you see it all the time with other Jetts where they are taking that space on site and forcing them off angles.
Yeah, sure. He wasn't dashing in, but they had a really good attack half regardless. They had a sound default. They mixed in fast rounds as well. It wasn't just all slow T1. They would mix in some fast hits as well. They were very competent. I thought they had a really solid attack half on the map. They had a good default towards A. They were playing with the Viper pretty well. They weren't getting stuck in the rut of we're just hitting this site over and over, or sorry, B rather with the Viper.
Yeah.
They weren't getting stuck in the rut of just hitting a site over and over.
They had some nice lurks on their attacking half as well.
And then by setting up the default on B, and then one round they would just hit A with a nice execute pretty quickly into the round, like 20 seconds, 30 seconds in. I thought that they had a pretty sound attack half, and I think that the promise that I saw in Spider's Jett was from him as an individual being really good. The problem was they were not communicating effectively to set up in the team plays. So if they can do that, that would solve that problem. But I think in terms of him as an individual on Jett, this made me believe that there's a lot more there than we saw originally.
It did look a lot better. Yeah.
Also, they were way more competent as a team in this game. Now, to be fair, Icebox is a map that they've clearly put time into, because even against, I can't remember the name of the team they lost to in Challengers 2, the amateur team that they lost to. I don't know if anyone remembers.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But they hyper rolled them on Icebox as well. They clearly have an understanding of how to play that map. It's clearly one that they've been working on with this new roster.
Yeah.
So, and sort of like the big picture macro, I like where T1 are at right now. Like they're clearly approaching the game with overarching ideas. They're not like, really a good comparison would be Cloud9, who were playing a very ponderous game that didn't really
ponderous. What a vocab word! I like that.
It was though. It was very ponderous.
It was awful. It really was. Yeah.
Which was a great stark comparison to T1, who seemed to really have an idea of how they wanted to approach each round and how each round would connect to the next with conditioning them on attack. I was just happy with what I saw with T1. I don't think it was perfect, but I think that we're actually seeing where they can go with this roster. And even still, if later down the line, maybe Skadoodle does want to go back on Jett and Spider wants to play Phoenix or whatever, sure. But I think that Skadoodle, when he's on Raze, is looking pretty solid. So I'm actually happy with what I saw, in that it leads me to believe that they're going somewhere in the future. And this is still a fairly solid win, even though Cloud9 were uninspired.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just rewatching this round, and it's painfully poor from Cloud9. And I think that's also what played into it for me, is that I didn't think T1 even got really tested here. Like, Cloud9 didn't look like a tier 2 team, really, when it came to like a top tier 2 team. We thought that Cloud9 could still be, with this roster, I think we said like 5th to 10th or something in NA with this roster. There is no chance that they're 5th to 10th at the moment from what we saw. The potential, I don't know, possibly, but right now there's no way. And that concerns me for T1 as well, is that the hardest team they faced was an extremely uncoordinated looking Cloud9. And the game still ended up being, I mean, it was a 2-0, but this map ended up being really close towards the end.
Both the maps were actually pretty close. They were like both like 13-10s or something.
Right. It felt like T1 were firmly in control of Icebox, though, from when I watched it. Like, it was very slow. It was classic T1, but they felt in control. Ascent felt like it was going to slip away from them for sure. And that concerns me a bit. I mean, Cloud9, though, I was mauled in watching them. I mean, watching Zeta play Jett as well instead of Poise, don't understand the decision-making, but also there was just no coordination with what Zeta was doing with the rest of the team. It was like watching Spider from last tournament a little bit. And so in the sense of that comparison, you can totally see how much better Spider is than somebody like Zeta. Zeta's like dashing into a site, throws down all 3 of his smokes, and is then just running around, loses a duel, and that's it. No one capitalizes off the space that he creates. There's like, people aren't even on the same page, possibly. So like T1, I think, go up against FaZe in the first round.
That is the worst matchup for them, though. To be fair, I think that there's actually I think the reason why they were struggling more against the other like amateur tier 2 or below teams but they had a pretty competent win against Cloud9, is because those teams that they were playing, especially the one in Challengers 2, were just crazy aggro. They'd take the site and they'd already have a guy pushing into their spawn.
Yeah.
They were just wild aggro.
And that should be can be good for T1 because T1 like to hold very slow structured
T1's
defaults.
Defense though.
But
I'm talking about T1's
T1
defense.
get rolled on defense against those kind of teams.
This is so what I'm happy with T1 right now is that they have a macro idea of how they're approaching their attack halves that seems competent and it seems well thought out.
Yeah.
The problem is establishing themselves on defense, and still they have to work on the interpersonal team play to an extent as well, just because the roster's new. So they still have things to get accustomed to. But I felt like I was seeing I felt like I was seeing promise with the roster in that game. Cloud9, on the other hand, the clear bright spot to me was Leaf.
Leaf played really well.
What I don't understand, the 6-man roster thing, I don't get it. Poise played a couple games earlier on in the tournament. He played Jett
One of them,
on
I think he was
Split,
playing Raze
He played
as
Raze
well.
on something against some. I don't know what they're trying to do with the 6-man roster. Also, don't know what they're trying to do with Zeta on Jett. He didn't look particularly comfortable on it. He didn't look particularly explosive on it. He wasn't really doing all that much. Sometimes he would, on the odd round, he would push up and try to take map control, and he'd be hard scoped with an AWP, but he never really made an impact play off of it. And all that being said, we were talking about his breach weeks ago on the show as to how good it was and how effective
really
his
good.
utility was. And even the players after that, I remember I think Mitch said like, "Oh, we have the best breach in NA, and he isn't even in NA or something like that."
Yeah.
And then they take him off breach, and he's playing Jett, but then they also sign an upcoming good fragging Jett. Where do the
the roster's
dots
lost.
connect?
They're lost, right? I feel like this is definitely just like a roster
Yeah.
that is currently there. This is like the classic signs of like something happened in scrims that either went like one of two ways. Like they did something in scrims and it really worked out. It's like, okay, we got to do this, right? Even though it defies all the other previous logic. So it's like, guys, they just got to do this because it just makes sense. Or they were just getting unbelievably pounded, like just both cheeks slapped, and they're like, we have to make a change. And like, because that's a classic scrim. This is a classic.
Look at this from
Cloud9.
Cloud9.
This was not good.
Look at that.
This was not a great cat hold.
And this is where I think some of my fears come from, is that T1 are down 8-9 at this point to a Cloud9 that's doing that. And that I think does not inspire confidence in me, because I didn't have confidence in their opponent. And I fear that when they get really challenged by a FaZe, a Gen.G, a TSM, or whoever the hell else they have to face, all right, T1 are looking okay right now, but do they have what it takes to crack into that level? I don't know.
I don't think yet. No, I don't think so
I don't
yet.
think
That's what I'm saying.
they do.
I think they have. I think that the roster can go somewhere though, but I don't think that it's going to be immediate. Automatic needs more time. They need more time to work on more maps. They're not going to. I mean, maybe they can play Icebox in every series, but they clearly need more time on the other maps as well. I don't know what to say about Cloud9 at this point, though I will. Well, actually, I do. Here's what I'm going to say. Number one Shinobi apologist at this point. But I think it has to be said, they were lacking direction. And one of the things, I don't know if this is, I'm sure this will be refuted immediately, but listen, they didn't really seem to have a direction. Can we agree on this?
When?
On their attacking halves.
Oh, now, yeah.
Right now,
absolutely.
they did in the rounds. It never looked like they had a clear direction of what they wanted to do. Again, they were very slow, very ponderous, and it never really went anywhere. Okay. My only thought is, I've seen this story before. You replace someone on the roster. You try to. It's like, oh, this guy can in-game lead. It's fine. Probably might happen. We were talking about it with Liquid. It's the same thing that could very well happen with Liquid,
It totally
which
could.
could lead to another roster change happening. This has happened so many times in CS. Oh, this guy will lead. It's fine. We'll cut the in-game leader who doesn't frag very well. That lasts about 3 weeks, and then they're spent.
Yeah.
I have seen that this has happened countless times in the history of CS, and might be happening right now, because I felt like throughout that entire series, on attacks, they just had no direction at all. They were just slow, walking around the map, never really took significant map control, and it just always led to a limp sight hit. It was just not. It was lacking direction.
You guys want to talk about
the Leaf is
TSM?
really good.
Yeah.
I have been out of it. I'll tell you afterwards. Monka W. I've been distracted, is what I'm saying.
All right.
Okay.
TSM.
Let's talk about TSM.
Okay.
TSM, yeah, they ended up qualifying in a 2-0 fashion. Yeah, I mean, I watched this game, yet it's evading my mind.
I actually liked version 1 in this game. I'll say it, version 1, pretty new roster. I actually liked, like, I really liked Vanity and I really liked Zelsis in this game a lot, actually.
I think they're a good team. I think that they still make a lot of like early team mistakes that just gifted TSM rounds. But I can see potential with the team. And it's the kind of mistakes that aren't systemic. It's when you go back in a VOD review and you're like, oh shit, we did that. That's what threw the round away. Let's fix that for the future. It's not that they have no clue. They have a plan, and then someone slipped up and it's like, oh shit, now the plan crumbles. But those are fixable mistakes for the future. And I think this version 1 team looks pretty decent. But it was still I want to say relatively comfortable win for TSM, but actually it went to OT in the second map. So that's not as comfortable. But TSM, they're looking okay. But they don't look... I didn't get the impression from this game, at least, that TSM are back. You know, like that feel when you're like, oh baby, they could win the tournament. That's not the feeling that I got from this game.
Still trying to find their footing, I think, was my major takeaway from these qualification games, which is only natural when you get to the tail end, I think, with Challengers 3. But it's, yeah, I got the same kind of feeling from watching TSM play in these matches, that they're still looking. I mean, I'm not going to say they're over-reliant on Waldell's opping, but at the same time, it's a centerpiece of a lot of what they play around. And yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on it, Wyatt?
Initially, and I still am happy to see Sabrosa back on Omen, because I think that has been his best role that he's been on since beginning his competitive career in Valorant. Wardell has still been looking really solid throughout all of these qualifiers. He's been pretty standout. But I just don't think they've been able to find an identity that suits them yet. They might still be able to, but I will say I'm a bit worried at this point that they may be running out of new options.
Yeah.
They've switched IGL again. It's back to Hazed now.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I'm under the impression, at least, that they've switched it again, and it's back to Hazed now.
Who is now playing Killjoy
Who's now
a
in Killjoy
lot
a lot of the time. And
Which
Drone is playing Raze, and Drone is an excellent player, but I don't know. This is the tough part of the issue with TSM is always that they play so many roles, but what can they all play at the same time that both makes a comprehensive comp overall, but also suits their individual needs? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that has just been kind of a constant issue with them, where it's like someone is always playing something odd.
When I watch them, it looks like they're winging it, like 90% of the time. They don't look like they don't look the same as other. Oh, this was interesting actually. When Wardell just got he got completely triple smoked out by the Brim on rafters. It was like a clear, we are not going to let Wardell get this whatsoever. Still gets a kill off, which might have been comboed with the recon dart.
Is he underneath here?
Yeah, and he's just underneath, inside the Brim smokes, gets another kill, swings around, and I think he gets a third here as well. Yeah, after he gets Brim ulted. I mean, yeah, the Wardell is still ridiculous. But when I look at TSM, it feels like they're winging it. It feels like they don't have set team play or like they don't have protocols in place for, hey, when I am holding here, I want you to be doing this and swinging for me in this way, or we're going to clear this area and move through it like this. They don't set up like trap plays with the killjoy or anything. It's just they assign people agents, they assign people areas of the map to play, and then they use their team synergy, which is like, we know how to play with these guys, and we are just going to try and use that to help us get us through the match.
Yeah.
That seems to be the kind of limits of TSM.
And listen,
And it's not good enough at the moment.
I have to speculate, is this a cause of them switching at this point so much, trying to figure out what's going to work, that they just haven't laid the groundwork with something that they can practice with for a long enough term to be really competent and fluid on.
Yeah, it feels like maybe they've just been chopping and changing too much for them to get good at this point.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Which,
So-
I mean, they are still good. They could
Yes.
still and probably should still qualify for Masters.
Well, can we take a look at the overall bracket
Sure.
to see who they're competing against to
Yeah.
continue this conversation? Because we can start to compare the teams that they're up against. Still the top 4.
Yeah.
And if you look at the teams that are in here, I mean, there's some
Gen.G.
clear outliers in terms of where you'd expect some of these teams to be. So yeah, I mean, the thing is, if they manage to get into the top 4, they still have a bit of time as well to still work something out. They don't have to be perfect. They still have a bit of time before Masters 1 if they end up qualifying here. But look at who, I mean, the teams that they're up against in terms of qualifying, Luminosity for one, Gen.G, that's a hard ask in game 1. That's a very hard ask, I think. And then you've got 100 Thieves and NRG. I'm kind of writing NRG off, but you never know with 100 Thieves making changes recently. And then FaceLand and T1. I mean, who knows what's going to happen there as well. So, yeah, even looking at this, it's not an insta-win qualification into Masters.
No, it's not. And they could lose just straight out to Gen.G. In fact, TSM lost to Gen.G.
They did.
In one of their qualifier steps. What was it, like Challengers 2 or something?
They lost to them in Challengers 2 in the qualifier match.
Yeah.
And if there was ever a better game to signal changing of the tides, it would be that.
Yeah.
Given that they had never lost to Gen.G before. And then in a BO3, that is. And Gen.G finally beat them. Which I do feel is telling of the way things have been changing in the scene over the past several months. But yeah, I think that's going to be another tough. It's going to be tough to go up against Gen.G immediately, and then if they do, could you pull up the full bracket again, Kurt? Because then if they do lose that, presumably they'll be playing against like the Dahunka Awuga Boinkers, whatever they're called.
They have to change that name, by the way. They're not
it's
keeping
tragic.
that name.
They can't be the Dahunka Doinkers anymore.
I don't know what that's going to be, but it's going to be worse. It's going to be worse than that name.
So presumably if they lose to Gen.G, they'll be playing against them. And then after that, they'll be playing against someone from the lower bracket. That's how it works, right? So they'll be playing against either...
yeah, they'll
I mean, the thing
be
is,
playing against like
I don't know.
NRG or something.
They'll be playing against either 100... Well, one of the teams, whoever loses the
Yeah.
round 2 match, which, I mean, at that point, I don't know.
I could still see TSM making their way through
yes.
either upper
Yeah.
or lower bracket, honestly.
But it's
I
not,
could see them
it's
like
not a lock.
I could see them do either.
If they make it through the upper bracket, that will be an excellent turn of events in their favor. That would really surprise me, actually. If they can beat Gen.G and Luminosity,
I don't think
That
they're
would be a
favored, honestly,
great
in either
run.
of those games. I wouldn't predict them in either of those games. I think
No,
it's
I
pretty
wouldn't at this point.
50-50 for their game against Gen.G. Not gonna lie, like I don't think there's a clear underdog, but I think TSM would be the clear underdog against Luminosity by not by a huge margin, but by a significant one. I think LG should have the advantage in that game. And yeah, I mean, if they were able to get to the upper final based off that, that's ridiculous.
I don't think TSM have even played LG before. Certainly not in the most recent LG iteration that's been slamming. So that's...
I mean, we talk about LG playing a very contact style. Wardell just might eat their asses when he ops.
Yeah.
It's
No, definitely. That could be
that is
the
a hard counter.
Yeah, he might just eat him up, just a nice little snack with the op. That's possible.
Yeah, like a bowl of peaches.
But could you bring up the bracket again, Kurt? Sorry, I kind of want to run through.
Yeah, I mean,
some
I'm
of these
expecting...
games. I actually...
Who are your clear favorites here for qualifying for Masters?
LG for certain.
LG,
Gen.G.
Yeah.
Should be 100 Thieves.
100 Thieves.
Should be 100 Thieves.
100 Thieves question mark, TSM question mark. I swear, FaZe are going to make it. I just know it. I can smell it. I can
feel
see
it, right?
I can feel it in the future.
Yeah.
FaZe are going to make it. I just know it.
I think, so do you want a hot prediction here? FaZe is going to knock TSM out of the lower bracket.
Yeah, I can see that happening.
For the lower bracket.
Yeah, because I think if TSM lose to Gen.G, the next team that they go up against could be the loser of like 100 Thieves against FaZe. And I could see FaZe knock it, like FaZe could knock T1 to the lower bracket and then knock TSM out.
I can see
like a ludicrous series.
I'm going to do you one better.
Oh, good. Here we go. Here we go.
The upper final might be LG versus FaZe Clan.
You think FaZe is going to beat T1 and then 100 Thieves?
I think it's possible. I can see FaZe beating T1. I think that FaZe are actually I think that's a bad matchup for T1. I think FaZe are the type of team that they're just going to be able to catch out the players. T1 don't have the team play right now to be able to pull it off.
What is the historic matchup of FaZe T1? You know,
because we can take a look at that now.
When I think about FaZe versus T1, on attack, FaZe should be favored. But FaZe cannot resist running in on defense. And T1 holds such a structured default. They should be set up for it.
You would think, but I feel like that might just go out the window. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if they lose the aim duels. Well, the thing about T1, and when I say team play, I want to be clear that I'm talking about, like effectively trading and playing off of each other. The synergy in those moments is not there yet because new team, new players to the game. There's still they're in the adjustment period. Yeah. And that is the type of team that FaZe might just be able to walk in and just headshot one guy, and there's not going to be an effective enough trade coming in or the utility to. So I can easily see FaZe winning that game. And I don't know. For some reason, I feel like they might be able to beat 100 Thieves because 100 Thieves, maybe they don't have it all figured out yet. They're still working things out. And FaZe just come in. They're on one of those days. They're on a fucking heater. Baby base just running in, and they just win.
And then we're forced to talk about FaZe at that point. I
can just see FaZe. I know they're gonna make it. I just know it. I just know it. But yeah, I mean, aside from Gen.G, LG, and FaZe, and then who was TSM maybe or 100 Thieves?
But it's up in the air, right? I think you've got LG as a clear favorite to be the number one seed here. In this tournament, go through all the way to the finals. Beyond that point,
I want to. You know what? I got fucking hot flaming takes all day long.
Go on.
I'm going to be honest. NRG could beat 100 Thieves in the first round.
Oh come on, no, what? That's too far.
No, it is not.
No, I mean, actually, I don't disagree with Wyatt, but like it has to be like it has to be someone with good odds. You know, if I'm taking a bet there, I better get a good payout in terms of when I put on energy because I don't think it's like a likely. I just think it's a possible.
No, I'm speaking from the perspective of a betting man. I'm thinking about the odds here because I know that going into this game, if I was gambling my my Elder Flame skins on this game, on the Valorant skin betting website that doesn't exist, you know for a fact the odds would be like 85 to 15, just some asinine shit.
Yes, yeah.
And NRG in that game against Demon Time, I was actually impressed with where they were at. And I know that Demon Time started coming back on their attack half because NRG, they started falling into their classic ways of too many players on that team, try to have heroic moments. They will just have these rounds where they try to fight too many 1v1s and lose the 1v1s, and it just all falls apart. They need a bit of work on their post plants on split when they were on attack on A. But they were... EU's Sky was so good. It was really, really good in that game. They were playing off of it really well. Every flash he put out had a purpose. There was always a player to play off of it. I liked Psalm on Omen. He was playing a much more solid game, and he was even throwing in some TikTok Omen moments, TPing around, having fun. They were really good on attack. They were really good at conditioning in terms of They had so many rounds where they would just put this heavy mid presence on, specifically using the Sky to either take control of Mail or take control of ropes, and then they would just mix in these nice fast hit rounds. They played a great attack half, and then on defense on Haven, they just destroyed them with. I mean, obviously the skill level on the team in terms of individuals was just higher, and they were just at one point styling on them, especially with Android now on the roster.
Yeah.
The skill level was just ridiculous. It was just like a fucking frag movie for 15 rounds. But in regards to their play, in terms of the post plants, they were decisive. Their retakes were fast. This was way better play from NRG than I'd seen recently. And I think it might have gotten kind of swept under the rug because Demon Time like made the comeback on their attack half.
Yeah.
Because Demon Time, they had good sight hits. They just started doing like a fast A and fast B, and it was working. They had good sight hits, and they definitely have some competent players in terms of fragging as well. So they were winning a couple clutch rounds. But listen, I was actually really impressed with NRG. For the first time in what feels like forever, I feel like this roster has some fucking legs. And EU and Android are so good. I was satisfied with what I saw for the first time with NRG in so long. And I genuinely think they could actually surprise people in this tournament and make a run. And maybe even the Bahunka Doinkers could make a run. They were pretty good. They were actually pretty decent.
I think that every team should be decent once you get to this level. And I think that I don't think 100 Thieves are going to be susceptible enough to the point where they should be not favored against. I mean, that's not what you're arguing, though. You're not saying that they're underdogs. You're saying that they have a better chance than people would perceive of winning. Yeah.
Yes.
Which, okay, I can get on board with that. But I think 100 Thieves are still pretty decent favorites in their game against NRG, despite them making roster moves pretty shortly. And I think that their coordination should still be good enough to deal with, especially T1. If they get T1 in that upper semifinals, I don't think they'll have a problem, because T1 play at such a low pace that they're not even putting pressure on you in a way where a new roster would struggle with it. If they're against FaZe, I could see some parts falling to pieces, but also I think their players are just smart enough to be able to expose FaZe's weaknesses. So I see 100 Thieves making it through to the upper finals, and I actually think that they got a pretty easy side of the bracket, to be honest. Like, compared to the teams they could have run into, like, I would be concerned if they ran into Gen.G. I would actually be even more, maybe concerned if they ran into TSM, if the players were on fire, which you never quite know with TSM. But if you got that version of TSM, I would be a little worried for 100 Thieves. If they ran into LG, obviously worried. You're going straight down to the lower bracket, probably. So I think 100 Thieves have got the perfect bracket here to be able to make it into the top 4 just by gliding straight into that upper final, then losing every game from then on, maybe. But as long as they make it into there, they're good. I think that they should be fine.
I think NRG are going to take it.
Oh my God, you're actually going with the prediction. The straight up spread.
We need to stop this. The problem is that if you were to, Wyatt has a crush on EU. I think this what's happened. And that's how NRG makes it so far. Every time. Every time.
So good. It's actually ludicrous how good he was and how effective the Sky was in that game.
It's a very good pick.
He had genuinely every single flash had a purpose, and someone played off of it every single time. They really looked good.
I think it's easy to find purpose with Sky, though, because she has so much utility to spunk out.
But a lot of teams really struggle to get a player in place because she's a bit clunky when it comes to actually executing. Like, you have to have pre-planned where the Sky Flash is going to go in order for the player to be able to swing and not get blinded. Like, you have to know that your Sky is flashing behind the pillar as you set up for it and as you swing for it. It all has to be pre-planned.
And they were executing it consistently, effectively in pressure situations where they were getting pushed. And they were pulling it off constantly. I don't know. I was actually just really impressed with them. I really think that they could take that game against 100 Thieves. And I'm going to predict them to win in my mind, where I approach everything as if I'm gambling on CSGO Lounge and I can see the odds. And I know that the odds would be way too skewed for 100 Thieves. So I would absolutely place my bet on NRG, which is where my prediction for them comes in.
That's just 8-brain gambling, though. That's 8-brain gambling of like, that's just literally just like, I get way more twigs and berries if I vote for this team Like it's I don't know.
No, that isn't what it is. It's because no. It's because I guarantee you, if this was on ValorantLounge.com, it would be an 85 or 80-20 for 100 Thieves. When in reality, NRG are definitely somewhere in at least the 30%.
Yeah, I can see your point, Wyatt. I can.
Yeah, but you're still saying that they're undervalued.
But watch
versus
just
like
harvests them.
They're it's not that close. I don't think it's that close still as you're making it out.
When NRG win, NRG are gonna win. I can't wait until next week's episode. I swear they're gonna win, man. I'm convinced. You guys are pushing me to be even more. I'm gonna go
psychology,
way too far in the other direction because oh god, now I just want to see it.
So overall, if we take a look at the bracket again, though, there's no clear-cut top 4. I mean, you can certainly say there are hard favorites like LG, but even teams like Gen.G have not had success in a lot of these challenges tournaments early on. I mean, I think they've had hard times of it in their previous goes in terms of their bracket, but
they got very hard times. I don't think lost to Immortals and 100
But
Thieves.
even here, they've got a hard time with it. Honestly, if TSM are I'll just wake up on the right side of the bed. This could be really horrible for Gen.G again. But even still, I mean, it gets to around. I'm not even comfortable saying that there's a clear favorite second seed in this bracket, personally. Because of all the unknowns coming into this. Like with 100 Thieves playing with Ethan, NRG, I mean, Wyatt is...
I mean, now I've gone so
You
far.
have gone so far.
I just wanted
to
come in just saying that I think that they're better than people are giving them credit for at this point.
And now you're thinking they're winning
You've
Masters.
gone way beyond that. You personally yourself into NRG is the best team in the tournament.
Yeah. I personally wasn't too sold on them, but at the same time, I was splitting the watch time of that game with The Weakest Link, British game show from 2001. So I cannot... listen, I'm not going to comment. But yeah, and then FaZe Clan and T1, I mean, that's massively up in the air, I think, as well, because watching the T1 game in Cloud9, I had a similar inclination watching that match that I was like, okay, you can see the potential, but they don't seem like a top team. It's a bracket. This tournament's going to be interesting because it will have some. It's definitely going to have some unknown teams moving forward. I feel,
what if we
or like
rated
some
our top
unknown
3?
expectations.
Like
again?
we just all pick 3 teams. Like we pick our clear favorite seed for us. We pick who we think is going to come second, and we pick who maybe take the second seed. What if we do that? So just go down the list.
For me, it's Luminosity first, 100 Thieves, and then I think Gen.G. So I'm expecting for my top 3 in this tournament.
Okay. I mean, definitely LG first. Second, I'm going to give...
NRG.
But I think I'd probably give it to Gen.G still. But yeah, the second is really close. You're definitely right. It's so hard to say. Like, if Gen.G played TSM, which they're going to, it's a very close game. If they're going to play against 100 Thieves, very close and hard to predict. But yeah, I'll go Luminosity, Gen.G, and God, do I want to say FaZe Clan? Do I want to say FaZe Clan? I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna go FaZe.
Wow, you're actually gonna pick FaZe?
Yeah.
Okay. Josh, you gonna go next, or shall I go next?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go for LG, 100 Thieves. Oh my god, I can't even think about how the lower brackets twists and turns are what decides this. And I think Gen.G are gonna go deep, but I don't know whether they're gonna go deep enough to be able to make it through. But do I really think that FaZe are gonna win like a bunch of games in the lower? I don't know. The FaZe versus TSM or Gen.G game, which almost seems inevitable to me in the lower round, in the lower round 2, is going to be such an important match.
Oh yeah, that is going to happen.
Almost certainly, yeah. Almost
that actually
certainly.
makes me want to take Gen.G off mine.
Yeah,
Gen.G have historically always boomed by FaZe.
Or it could be TSM. It's whichever of them drop to the lower bracket first will end up playing against FaZe, probably. But again, that's so probable. I might just go with the classic pick, but I know it's going to be wrong, of LG 100 Thieves, Gen.G, TSM. I'm going to go with those 4. But I also have this strong feeling that FaZe are going to make Masters. And I think FaZe is going to upset one of those teams and probably make it through. But I just simply don't... I can't decide between Gen.G and TSM. And they're both in the same side of the bracket. They've both got the exact same opponents they would run into if they ended up losing the first round. So I think that's so up in the air.
Yeah, I'm doing LG, Gen.G, 100 Thieves, I think.
Okay.
I think 100 Thieves could maybe fix some of their issues, get that second seed if they I think they might have to do a lower bracket run, or even Gen.G might have to do a lower bracket run. But I feel like I'm actually feeling okay about Gen.G. Feel good about LG, and I think 100 Thieves should. But who knows? Maybe we'll get boomed by FaZe, and Baby Bay's fucking gonna chad me out with his crazy animal musk. So I don't know.
I got to change mine because Josh reminded me that I could actually use the bracket to predict potential future matches that would dictate who makes it. I just kind of saw the names. I'm like, well, those guys are good. And so I'm changing mine real quick. I'm going Luminosity, 100 Thieves, and NRG instead.
Lame.
Interesting.
Lame.
It's confirmed. I've seen it.
Lame. Not picking off your team favorites and using the bracket science like a nerd.
Just picked NRG.
I
What
think
are you talking about?
This tournament's
that's
very
also
interesting,
his
though, because you can tell that there's going to be upset somewhere along the line.
Oh, yeah.
The teams are, it's not the highest level of team quality that we've got in North America, but these are teams that are punching in the middle region of and some breaking into tier 1, some in tier 1.
Yeah.
And you're going to get this mix where there's going to be upsets, and there's going to be teams that come out swinging that we didn't expect. I'm hoping for Gen.G to actually have a consistent performance. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun one to watch, I think.
Yeah, it should
overall.
be great.
Let's move on. The last topic, the most important topic of all, is Wyatt's weekly award.
Dude, where's my res? Oh, hey. Didn't see you there. That's Wyatt's weekly award. Yeah, there it is. Well, I'm going to be honest. That tangent essentially got me to just go on the weekly award that I was about to give anyway, because I'm giving it to EU for providing me with the best Sky gameplay that I've seen in NA so far. And I pretty much said exactly why anyhow, because I just went on a mad tangent. But aside from, obviously, there's his skill in terms of fragging, his aim, all of that is well known and documented. But his Sky utility usage in that game was some of the best that I have seen so far in all regions, but definitely in NA. He got use out of all of her utility. Every flash had a purpose. Every Trailblazer got mega value. He just played the agent very, very, very well. And there's also credit there to NRG because they had so many setups that he enabled with his utility. They were all well thought out. They were all executed properly. And even in situations where players were facing down either 2 or 3 guys trying to push them, or there was counter utility coming in, he was always on the fly, able to execute everything well and guide the birds in and hit the flashes. And it was just very well played. And is the reason why I'm very hot on NRG actually coming into this Challengers Close qualifier. So yeah, gonna give it to EU for the good Sky gameplay.
Nice.
I agree with that.
Very nice.
Bren, I have to add one thing before we go on because it crossed my timeline. David Denis just tweeted how tolerating discomfort is a learned skill and talks about how he takes 30 seconds of cold showers at the end of every shower. And how I can think about is like T1 David Denis forcing everyone to the cold showers on T1. Like, we're going to tolerate discomfort. I just had to bring this up because I thought it was an extremely David Denis thing. The tweet.
This is such a David Denis thing.
Isn't this ridiculous?
I always associate cold showers with people who are like,
I consider with Instagram influencers. They're like, I gotta rise and grind. Then I have my matcha frappa cappuccino.
4 a.m.
And then I sit
up.
on my laptop and write emails for an hour.
Double check my portfolio. Write the emails. Cold shower. Number 2. Gym workout. Cold shower. Number 3. if you're not up before the next guy, you're behind. You're last in line. You know, that kind of...
Yeah. It's a very prevalent mentality in some areas of business. I can't say it's very prevalent in esports. Most people don't shower at all, never mind cold shower.
It's taken over, you know. It's
Is
like
it?
I think it's in the same kind of... There's like a Venn diagram of David Goggin fans.
Sure,
and,
yeah.
And like the kind of early rise and grind. My entire existence and self-worth comes from my economic output. So I must prove that I am...
I mean, he's not saying economic output.
No,
though.
of course. No, listen, I'm just saying that's what I associate with. Okay, I'm not saying. Listen, David Dennis. Sure, he's a lovely bloke. I'm sure he's not an AI. We can
We'll get a drink with David.
At some point, I want to have a little drink with him. Have a little chat. You know, have a talk. Whatever. Anyway, when the world opens up again.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching Plat Chat VALORANT episode 34.
Maybe. I don't know.
Fuck if I know.
It is 34. I know it's 34. I don't know why I paused. I'm like thinking, how do I segue this? What have we got? Back chat, I suppose, where we don't really know what guests we're getting.
No, we don't. If you have a good suggestion for a guest, then you can write it in the comments below.
Yeah, but otherwise, have a lovely day.
Wait, you have to tell them to leave something in the comments, surely.
Sure. Leave a comment if you think...
Just leave it.
If you think...
Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
If you think...
Do you think? Are you capable of thought? If so, leave a comment. Are you sentient?
Leaving a comment is a great way to let us know if you are sentient.
To prove that you're sentient.
If you have thoughts, surely you can type them.
I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time for Back Chat. It's going to be happening on the Monday. Bye-bye.